All
I
right,
have
so
it somewhere too, so.
let me open the meeting. So I'm going to open the meeting of Finance Committee budget presentation at 6:37, February 5th. All right. Tonight we have presenting Chief Tim Herron from the Fire Department. Yay.
Wowie.
Whoa, welcome.
Thank you.
Could you pass me that?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. All right, yeah,
So you'll see before you, there's several columns.
the correct way to do a budget.
The far left is my current FY19 actual budget, which I'll start off real quick with that. I'm more than likely going to overspend this year and going to be coming back for some type of transfer, whether it's be reserve fund or.
Is this what you gave at town meeting?
FY19, what we're
Perfect.
in
Okay.
right now. I'm probably going to be short about between 15 and 18,000, unless I can work some magic. I just don't think it's going to happen. I have someone who's out right now, long-term OJI. I had someone who was out for 7 weeks medical. I have another one who's out currently now for about 7 weeks medical, and I don't see it ending anytime soon.
So is it all overtime that you're gonna end
Well,
up short?
Yes.
Coverage?
So I had a longtime firefighter that abruptly retired in October. So there's going to be some savings in salaries that I just intend on transferring during that May FinCom budget, Board of Selectmen presentation, to
Yep.
transfer that over to additional comp. But I'm still going to be short probably 15 to 18,000. But, I mean, there's money available to cover that in
Yep.
the ambulance account if necessary. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later when it comes to, the request for civilian dispatches.
Yep,
But I just want to bring everyone up to speed. I sent Laura a letter, I believe, and I'm doing everything I can.
I was
I had two,
CC'd on
I
that,
have
I
two
think.
people, I have two people on days. I took one, I put them on a shift to try and alleviate that.
yep.
And some of the shifts I'm able to fill with some call firefighters at a cheaper rate as well. But I mean, it's still, my goal is to keep five
Right,
firefighters on
because
duty.
pretty much you're down, what, 3 positions with the
No,
people out right
so-
now? Or 4?
Currently, I'm down, well, those are just the OJIs and the sick leaves. And I
Yep.
had someone who quit to go somewhere else.
Okay,
So I was down that one, that I
Okay.
just hired someone today.
Oh.
But that's a 6-week process before
Yep.
they can even start. And then when
Right.
they do start, they're brand new, so
you gotta bring
they have
them
to be
around.
shadowed and
Yep.
everything else, so. But I already figured that when I did a budget recap about 2 weeks ago, my second one. And I figured all that in anyways.
Okay.
So the number that I gave you, 15 to 18, that's the number. I don't see it increasing any.
Okay.
Now, if we have a quiet year with callback, it'll be less because I'll be able to take some of that callback
Yep.
and put it towards those shift coverages. So,
Okay,
all right?
yeah,
I just wanted to come right out with that before I
Yep.
forgot, and
And while we're on it, did I forward that letter, the fire department letter to everyone? Okay, good. I couldn't-
yeah, the one you
I couldn't
forwarded,
remember if I.
the one you forwarded, I think said like 6,000, but
I have, it's in here.
it increased.
Yeah, you
That's,
CC'd me on that, so
okay.
that was good.
so, as you see, for the actual budget, on the left column, it says FY19 actual. And if I talk too fast, please tell me to slow down, because I'm a fast speaker, but it says FY19 actual. That's the budget that I'm in right now. The next column, the green column, is my FY20, what I consider as the chief, what I real needs to operate the department as I see fit, which would be five firefighters on duty, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My day lieutenant, Tuesday through Friday, and my deputy chief on days, Monday through Thursday. They have their own separate jobs that they do over and above answering calls. It's the shift people that I'm the most concerned about, because they're on the streets, they're doing the calls. And when like now, at night, I'll fill shifts to about 10:30.
Yep.
Then I'll drop to 4 to try and save money. And knock on wood, it's been pretty good every once in a while.
Do you have call people that you'll call in if you need to fill in?
If they all leave on medicals, no one's at the station, I have to recall everybody.
Right,
Where if I have that 5 guys working, I only have to recall 1.
right, okay.
So,
Because 2 in an ambulance?
2 in an ambulance, yes. Unless it's a priority call, then it's 3. But I just backfill with 1 when it comes time for that.
Okay,
So the next column over would be what my real needs are over what my FY19 or this current fiscal year's actual numbers are.
okay,
The yellow column is what the FinCom and Town Administrator requested, which was the 2%. You notice at the top, it says 2.392%.
Yeah.
And that's only because, well, yes and no. The firefighters in the collective bargaining agreement get tuition reimbursement. So if you notice in the real needs column, it says there's I have $52,000 in requests, and I'm sorry it's so dark. It was
Yep.
supposed to be lighter. I have $52,000 in requests for tuition reimbursement. Last year, I only budgeted 30. So I'm asking for 40. So that extra 10 is what makes that 2% now 2.392.
Okay.
So what I suggest is,
Do you
right
have a
now.
lot of people going to school?
I do now, yeah, I do, which is great, you know, it's educated workforce is better than not. So last year, the town contributed $550,000 out of the EMS account to offset the general fund, you know, it just frees up money for other departments to spend that where I can
Right.
take it from the EMS account. I'm just asking for it to be increased $10,000 to $560.
Okay.
It will not matter. I can tell you that. It won't, like, we're not gonna go in the hole with $10,000. And doing that, it'll still stay within the 2% per se. When I look at the general fund, so to say, from taxation, it's not gonna be 2.392. It'll be 2,
Yep.
because it's not gonna cost the taxpayers any money to fund that. And I'm trying to do my part to
Still
give them the
contribute.
tuition reimbursements.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Makes for a
Well-
better workforce.
we'll just go with the yellow column for now, is that fine? Okay, so I mean, the budget as I submitted as a request is the blue column, but there's no difference between the yellow and the blue other than civilian dispatches, but I want to talk about that at the end,
Okay.
because I have a plan for that I think would be very productive, not only for the police and fire, but for the town in general. So we'll just stay with the yellow. Excuse me. So the yellow column, anything you see, the increases over, these are just all contractual increases, this is salaries.
Okay.
The very top column's fire department salaries. The next section down is additional compensation. Now, I took the additional compensation in 2 ways. What I really need to staff for vacation leave, holiday leave, personal leave, sick leave, which really isn't budgetable, but lately the past few years, it's been about $50,000.
Okay.
I offset not asking for that by not filling sick days during the week when I have, that extra person, they can fill in that
Yep.
hole. So there's 2 columns, the red and the white next to it, which shows you how much I'm short from real needs and how much I'm short over the current budget that I'm in now. And then at the end, I'll do it as I'm going. So just for cover vacation, so the loss of that 15,997 will result in 28 shifts of vacation leave going unfilled. And when I say go unfilled, it decreases on-duty manpower. For cover sick, last year I budgeted 30. This year I'm actually going less to make up
Some of them.
for the 2%. I mean, it is what it is. And I can't really gauge what that's gonna do towards the year, because maybe I'll have a good year next year and there won't be much sick leave. Cold and flu season kinda hits us hard, and, these firefighters are going in ambulance with sick people all the time, and,
Right.
sometimes you catch a bug and it is what it is. Holiday pay, I'm budgeting 95,551, which is a 15,969 decrease from the real needs, or an additional 12,949 less than what I currently have in this fiscal year. And that would result in 28 shifts of holiday leave going unfilled. Which,
So,
Go ahead.
if I could just ask, so what
Absolutely.
you're saying for the holiday pay, currently you have 108,500 for FY19.
correct.
In a real needs, you need 111. Is that a 2% increase? Or did you use like salaries to come up?
No, I
with the
use,
one?
so anything you see in that green column is what their salaries will be for next year.
Okay, nope, that's exactly what I wanted to.
Yep, there's no guesswork, and I know what the numbers are, because they're in their last year of the contract.
Yep,
So, and there's 2 ways that this works. So they get 13 paid holidays per year. They get paid for 8, they can take off 5.
okay,
So the paid for 8, I absolutely have to cover. I have to pay that, it's contractual.
yep,
The other 5 technically I don't have to fill it, but if I don't, then I run short.
right, no one's
And that's my goal is, when I started here, was to try and get it so there's 5 on duty, 24/7.
Yeah,
And
which
I'm
makes sense.
and I'm almost there.
Yeah.
It's taken 7 years and I'm almost there. But that's my goal. Cover school. Last year was 3,000. The year before that, it was like probably 28 to 40,000, I forget, because that paid for EMT and EMT paramedic certification. Every 2 years, everyone would come in overtime to recertify. You know, you had to go to a class for 30 hours to recertify. We were able to take that, what they would normally make in overtime, and just put it in their base. And now I don't have to do that anymore.
So they go on their own?
So, well, I bought a program, so now they can do it online. As a group, they will log in monthly and take however many hours that
That's
month. And over the course of a year, they get all their online education, or they get that EMT recertification online while they're working.
Yep.
There is no more having it.
So is it staggered over the 2 years?
Honestly, I just bought the program.
Oh.
So I can't stagger it because some people recertify this year.
Yeah.
Some people recertify next year.
That's what I mean.
So what it'll be is every
Yeah,
other
that'll be-
year, you'll have to do this. But on that off year, the same program is used for, it's called Target Solutions. It's used for, because you have to do continuing education
Yeah.
as well. But now, effective February 1st, we became an OSHA state for the fire department for the first time ever. So this program covers all my
All that.
OSHA regulations that I have to do biannual or quarterly training on. It covers all that.
Oh, good.
It also covers remedial training, I shouldn't say remedial, but fire training. So, guys that go to the academy 15 years ago can get
Yep.
refresher courses on stuff.
So is that gonna save you productivity from people being in the office versus out of the office? Or in the station versus out of the station?
No, not so much, because everything's going to be done.
Just more efficient.
I mean, you could technically, if you wanted to, log in from home and do
And
it.
do it.
Not sure why you would.
Right.
You know what I mean?
On your own
I mean,
time.
But, I mean, on the flip side,
Yeah,
they're no longer getting paid overtime to do it when they
Right.
come in, so
That's what I
there's
mean.
really no difference.
Right.
They can do it whenever they want.
there you go.
But I personally would do it when I'm working.
Yes.
Cover military, I have no one currently in the military, therefore that line item is 0. Cover personal days, each member gets 28 hours of personal leave per year. To fill that at the real needs is $27,746. I'm asking to keep it at $13,225, which is exactly what I had last year, which is a result of 307 hours that will go unfilled out of a total of 560 hours that they all get collectively. It's like a 55% reduction in.
Okay.
But personal time is used not so much usually on a whole shift basis, it's like 2 to 4 hours during a shift, so.
Do they use that to go to their medical appointments and things like that, or do they use sick time for that?
It all depends.
I didn't know if it was something they had to tell you,
Yeah,
or
no,
they could
it's-
personal.
No,
they could
the
use it
personal time
however
is
they want
pretty
it.
much, it's almost considered like emergency time off.
Okay.
Because we have a limit of how many people can be off per shift.
Mm-hmm.
Personal leave, if it's 2 hours or less, you're guaranteed it off. So if something comes up,
You can.
you need to get those 2 hours, or you're gonna get your kid or whatever,
Yeah.
they can do that. And it's really not an issue.
Yeah.
It works out pretty well. Callback, 125,000. I'm not changing that. The real needs was 135,000. But I looked at last year's numbers, and I think I came in at like 124 and some change. Maybe I'll overspend it. I'm not real concerned about it right now. What kills me is winter storms. Winter storms is just wreak havoc because I have to have people in. This year, this looks like it's not gonna be a problem.
Let's
Knock on
hope-
wood too, 'cause
yes.
February's not quite
Right,
over.
February's just started.
But last year was brutal, and a
That
couple
whole,
years before
every
that, it was
week on a
brutal. Yeah, I
Thursday,
mean,
it was crazy.
I had 20 people working at a time for, 40 hours straight
Yeah.
almost. Cover OJI is just a standard, it's always $2,000, it's never gonna change. Sometimes I get people that get hurt on the job, sometimes I don't. There's really no way to budget that, and I don't.
Okay.
It is what it is.
Yep.
Additional comp other is pretty much stipends. They get stipends for certain positions that they hold.
Why?
And, like paramedics get an extra $1,000 for being a paramedic stipend. I have an EMS coordinator for $1,000, ALS coordinator for $1,000, a maintenance coordinator for $1,000, and my public education and CERT coordinators both $1,000 each. And it's just extra work that they do.
Okay.
That they get a stipend for.
Okay.
Over and above what they normally would get. The 27,000 that was the real needs that was to cover, bereavement leave, which I have no means to cover that, so if someone happens to pass away, then they have that time off, at least I would have money to fill that. So I ex-nayed that, and stays at that 23 is the stipends. Longevity pay is contractual. It's $32,365. It's the same all the way across the board. It actually went up just a few $100s this year. It would have been up more if the gentleman that retired stayed, but he left, so it's kind of stagnant. Sick leave buyback. What I do is I go by what everybody has, when I made the budget, by what everybody has in their bank now.
Yep.
And then on July 1st,
Then
they
you-
get however many sick days, it's anywhere from 12 to 15.
Do they have to do it? Is it a requirement?
They have to sell back once they hit 150.
Okay.
They have to sell
I
back.
didn't know what your limit
They
was.
have to sell back to 135.
Okay.
They can't sell back to 120. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. I bank on the 150 to 135.
Okay.
And vacation buyback, I don't have a lot of people doing vacation buyback, therefore the number is 0.
Yeah.
But that's an okay thing, because
People want to
if
use their
they,
time.
right, and in the line of work we do, sometimes you just need to get away. But
Yep.
with that being a 0, it really doesn't matter so much, because if they sell back, that's a week's vacation I don't have to pay overtime for. So it's
So-
already up in the
There
vacation
you go.
cover, so it all kind of works out. Down to expenses, training and education. Like I said, I'm just asking for that additional $10,000 for the tuition reimbursement, which could be offset by the ambulance fund. Clothing allowance is a $400 reduction over what I'm doing now, and that is just clothing allowance for the career members and myself of the department. A few years ago, I think I had it a little bit higher, so I could outfit some of my call firefighters with uniforms. 'Cause
Yeah. I
they
remember
don't,
that.
they don't get paid a lot of money, and for them to have to go out of pocket and buy it, to me, is just wrong. I'll do what I can do to try and find a way to make that happen from, other charging expenses, but that, even as you'll see there, that's gonna be tight as well. Repairs and maintenance equipment pretty much stays the same, it's $28,000. I will say that my tower truck is aging, it's 22 years old.
Okay.
It's cost, since 2012, about $72,000 to repair. Past
Did we
few-
talk about this last year,
we
this
did.
one?
So the past few years, it's been out of service for months at a time, costing a lot of money to maintain. I did apply for an Assistance to Firefighters grant to replace it this year.
Is that the one that, okay, I was gonna say, is that the one that you were fixing the chassis on it or something? Or trying
I was
to,
fixing the ladder.
Oh, the ladder.
The computer system. Well, first it was the computer system, and then it was the complete wiring harness underneath. What else? The pump failed. The list goes on and on. I
Okay.
had a bunch of rungs that rusted out, that had, the whole ladder had to be disassembled, and redone and welded and fixed, and that was 13.5. That was a few years ago.
okay, jeez.
So I applied for Assistance to Firefighters grant. Not gonna lie to you, I don't have a lot of faith that I'm gonna get that,
Okay.
only because the truck's 22 years old, and they really like it to be 25 years or so. I
Oh,
wrote it up in such a way, though, that maybe I will, and I wish I had some more
Who knows?
information. I wish I had more information on that, but with the government shutdown that's run through FEMA, they were shut down.
yeah.
So I called the other day to kind of get a status update, and
They said, hey, we're
those
still shut down.
those applications haven't even gone to peer review,
Right.
which is, there's like 200 firefighters
They
from
just
across the
trying to
country
catch
that
up.
come in, they bring them in for 2 weeks, and they just read narratives and grade them. So that hasn't even been scheduled yet.
Oh,
So,
boy.
Where was I? I'm sorry.
Nope.
Repair and maintenance,
Yep.
computer equipment, stays the same, it's 10,600. Repairs and maintenance, communications equipment, $6,000. That's pretty much gonna remain the same. And that's not so much computer repairs and maintenance, it's more like if I have to buy or replace a portable radio, which our new ones now, because they're digital compliant, are like $2,000 a piece. Or these monitors we used for notification, they're like $450 a piece. So sometimes things break, it is what it is.
Yep,
Telephone, it went down $10.
I saw that. Wow, that's
Yeah.
a savings.
Isn't it? I use it somewhere else.
Of course.
Now, you'll notice, so office supplies went from 2,000 up to 5,596. It didn't really go up. I moved money around because I was paying different licenses or whatever out of, like, other charges and expenses, and I wanted to make that more realistic in line with, like, so supplies office, that will cover, that program I was talking about, Target
Yeah.
Solutions, so that covers that. So it's in its
So it's
own
just
kind
offset.
of line, right.
Mhm.
I mean, the overall expenses did go up because that's just the nature of the beast, and
Right.
nothing stays the same for 5 years in a row, and it is what it is. Supplies copier, $500, that's pretty much for paper, and toner cartridges or whatever.
Yep.
Supplies fire safety equipment, $10,000, and that is a whole gamut of stuff, whether I need to buy a full set of personal protective equipment, which costs about $3,000 per set. I mean, I got a grant, I've been very successful in getting grants over the years to do those replacements, but when I hire someone new and they don't fit into a gear that I already have, I
Gotta buy
gotta
it.
outfit them with a set of gear. And it also buys, hose or nozzles or whatever that we might need.
How long does your gear last for?
It's 10 years.
10 years.
It lasts for
Regardless-
much longer, but the NFPA says it's good for 10 years. After that, it's no longer compliant, so to say, and if somebody was wearing it and was injured, now that we're OSHA, even bigger, because they're gonna scrutinize it.
Right. so
They're
now
gonna
you
say,
have
why
to-
were they in gear that was more than 10 years old?
What if they're damaged or anything like that?
Damages, so I can send them out for repairs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I have a woman who actually does those types of repairs right over in Bridgewater. If it's a major repair, though, it needs to be sent back to the factory. But it's a pretty reasonable price to have to pay. It's really not a huge
I didn't know
cost.
if it, like, the only thing that I'm thinking of, a car seat, if you're in a car accident, you're not supposed to use it anymore.
Correct.
Like, do you get to a point where if a suit is
Nope.
in,
So, a few years back, I bought a gear washer extractor and a gear dryer. So what that means is, and I put a policy out that anytime you go into an environment which is full of carcinogens, i.e. a house fire or a structure fire, your gear shall be washed upon your return to the station to get all those cancer-causing agents out. And then it's dried, so within a 5 to 6 hour period, your gear's out, it's being cleaned, but you have a backup set of gear. That backup set of gear is not NFPA compliant.
Oh, I see.
So I have a plan for that in the future, but I gotta wait a few years, because I wanna kind of replace half the gear in 5 years, and then replace another half the next
It's
5
kind of
years.
like how you do the ambulances.
Right, those used to be every 3, we're gonna up them to 4 now, because the prices have jumped considerably. So that's what I'm trying to do. I just gotta wait a few years to make sure there's money there to be able to do that. I mean, there is now, but I don't wanna commit that yet, with ambulance fees. I don't wanna commit that just yet, because my plan is to buy a new ladder truck, hopefully by the federal government, but if not,
Right.
we still have to have one.
Capital.
I have like $500,000 set aside in the Emmons account strictly for when that happens. And that'll offset capital by $500,000. But that's part of my other presentation, so. Dues membership conferences, that's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Dues for me, from any organizations I belong to, any memberships I belong to, and annually I go to a professional development conference in Worcester. Hi, John. It also covers some of my deputy chief's dues for like belonging to the National Fire Protection Agency. It's a wealth of information, it's money well spent. There's all sorts of code issues that he can look up, and it's money well spent. Other charges and expenses are exactly what it sounds like, anything that I didn't cover.
Makes sense.
So other charges and expenses When I hire someone, get us in for a pre-employment physical, $500. Then I get us in for a physical abilities test, $150. That comes out of that, and whatever incidentals might happen.
Okay.
Ambulance operations. The ambulance operations, equipment repair and maintenance, I actually decreased $11,000 because my A3 is about 3 weeks out from being replaced, and that has cost me thousands of dollars over the past few years.
Now, do the ambulances is just like cars in the sense of one may require more repairs than like another one?
This A3 did, yeah, because
Yeah.
of the type of motor that Ford installed
Okay.
in 2009. Turned out that it was the worst diesel motor Ford ever created, and luckily I have it.
Oh, that's
So
good.
it's,
So you're moving on from it?
I am moving on from it, not soon enough. And then in the future, what we would normally do is every 3 years, we would just replace an entire ambulance. So my A1 and my A2 are the exact same truck. You cannot notice the difference. My A3 will be pretty much the exact same truck. Now, the ambulance compartments, the boxes on these, they last more than 9 years. So moving forward, after A3 is replaced, 3 or 4 years out, I'm going to take that entire ambulance and ship it out to a factory. They're going to take the ambulance box off,
Oh,
refurbish it, put it on a brand-new chassis, and now I just got 18 years. I just got 18 years out of that, at a savings of, you would think it's a lot of it, it's only like a $40,000 to $50,000 savings.
okay.
But the federal government, the KKK specs, which are in charge of ambulances and all the specifications, changed the stretcher systems, so they have to be more secure, which I totally agree with, because they've had rollover accidents where patients have become dislodged and died from blunt force trauma, from being strapped to a stretcher and bouncing off the interior of an ambulance. So I was successful in getting an Assistance to Firefighters grant 2 years ago to replace 2 of our stretchers to this new Stryker stretcher. And it's a really nice system because there's no more back involved with it. It's all electric powered. You press a button, it raises up with the patient on it. You put it in the ambulance, it connects in, and you can literally with your thumb push it in there, and it
Oh.
locks in place, 4-point lock.
Better for
They've
everyone.
done rollover tests on it. People are safe.
Okay,
Cool beans.
yeah.
$70,000 for that system, though.
Well,
Hence why ambulances went up so much money.
okay.
So the town bought 1, the federal government bought 2. So it wasn't just gonna happen, and we haven't even put the other one in service. It's actually sitting at the dealership that they're gonna install in my new ambulance.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, it is nice. It's, and my guys are thrilled about it too. It's a really good
Their
deal.
backs are thanking them.
Yeah, it's funny, I honestly haven't had a lot of back injuries for it, but I have had people, have minor injuries. Well, they can't get them now because it's all automated. It's a really slick, system, it really is. I was quite impressed with it. I mean, it lowers automatically. The only thing you physically have to do is pick the patient up and put them on it. But when you have 3 or 4 guys there doing it, it's a lot easier. So anyways, billing service. Billing service, you're gonna see, has gone up considerably. We are making a lot of, so I say this every year. That's the one number in my budget you definitely want to see go up every year. Because that means if that number's going up, we're making more money.
Right.
Because they charge 4% for every, successful bill they have. So when I started, it was, I think, $31,000. I went out, renegotiated, I went out for bid on, do an RFP for a contract for a new billing service. We got the new billing service. We dropped 0.5% of what we had to pay them when they collected fees, so it's now 4%, and we're making a lot of money now off that ambulance. We had an account, we had a contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield that I wasn't aware of, that they were paying us pennies on the dollar, so I canceled that. In last August, now, starting August of 2018, they had to pay full, which I can show you how that month,
Must
it increased considerably. Supplies office, you'll notice went from $9,750 to $750. So supplies office, that we were paying for all the ambulance license fees. Yearly, we have to, pay for the ambulances through the Office of Emergency Medical Services. We were paying the license fees for AmbuPro, which is our patient care reporting software. I had Phyllis, the town accountant, make a new line item for me, which
Okay.
just says ambulance and software licenses. It's $10,500. So therefore now,
Just kind of,
all licenses, fees, recertification fees, all come out of that line item now. Because everyone that works for the fire department, who's an EMT or a paramedic, gets this certification paid by the town. And it's 150, 145 or 150, depending on what your level is. And that's been going on for years. But it used to be up in like a training and education, which wasn't where it was supposed to be. And so I had the town accountant make a new line item for us, so it, just to be
Yeah.
more transparent, and it's easy
Right.
for me to budget it too.
then you know what exactly it is.
Exactly, and supplies, ambulances, so supplies for the ambulance last year was 20,000. I'm actually dropping it down to 18,500, only because I had to make up some differences to try and keep people on the street, doing, manpower. And I hopefully will be able to live within that. I mean, I will, short of promising you that I will live within that, I will do everything in my means to make sure we don't overspend that. But if I run short, or I should say, if I don't spend all I spend in equipment repair and maintenance, I can use that money for supplies and equipment are necessary.
Okay.
So the grant total before the contribution of the EMS account is $2,607,830, which is 2.392%. You'll notice in the green column, under ambulance account contribution last year, or this current year, was $550,000. I'm asking that the FinCom just increase that $10,000. It brings the budget back down to the 2%, but it allows me to pay, that extra $10,000 for tuition reimbursement. So in all, the next line down, it says total allowed by FinCom is $2.597 million. And you'll see that goes all the way across the board.
Yep.
Even into the blue column. So, are there any questions about the yellow column or the 2% budget?
I actually have one quick question.
Sure.
And I'm kind of glad John came in because it kind of pertains to both of you. So the software that you're using for your certifications that you mentioned also now is going to handle all of your OSHA trainings.
Correct.
Is that now, to my understanding from meeting with John, that the town is now going to all fall under new OSHA requirements?
I think the town always has. Have you always fallen to OSHA? It's just fire departments in Massachusetts, never required, never.
The actual town now, as of February 1st, all municipalities are governed under the OSHA workplace laws.
Oh,
Previous to that, they were governed under the Department of Public Safety, who would defer to OSHA regulations. But now the town actually falls under OSHA guidelines, still enforced by Department of Public Safety employees. So essentially the municipal government branch of, or equivalent of what we'd all think of the federal OSHA. So in the event of incidents, accidents, inspections, it won't be OSHA inspectors, but it'll be Massachusetts Department of Public Safety inspectors working under the OSHA guidelines. So we've all, and that's,
so everyone's gonna be adhered to the same
my
standards?
understanding, even at this point, although it's counterintuitive, a number of the OSHA rules and requirements that, we fall under for workday, every day, do your work safely on a ladder, this and that. Stay away from a hot flame. Don't make sense for a fire department, because obviously they're
Right.
climbing ladders in smoky environments, wet,
Someone running
fire,
into a fire
all
saying
those
that.
elements.
But-
But the way the law was enacted, the way my understanding is public safety, all municipal employees fall into that. I think fire may be working to identify an exemption there.
It's not
but-
gonna happen. But I will say this now with ladders. So now, because of OSHA, we have to maintain 3 points of contact on the ladder. 2 feet in the hand or 2 hands in the foot. You have to maintain 3 points of contact when you're climbing a ladder. Very tough to do sometimes when you have an axe in your hand. So the only way to do it is to rub that ladder up the rail as you're holding it. So I have a plan to buy these leather straps, they call them truckman belts. They're not cheap, but it is what it is. And I'm not gonna issue them to everybody, there's just be a certain number in every truck that they'll be able to sling over their shoulder so they can maintain those 3 points of contact. Because, you know, just like anybody else in the town, I don't want my people to get hurt.
No.
And OSHA's not a bad thing, it really isn't a bad thing, it's keeping people safe. God forbid something goes wrong and you're not in compliance,
Right,
first time's a warning,
right.
and there's a plan of correction, second time, fines.
So I guess my question is if we find out that there are additional trainings required for the rest of the town, is there opportunity to
So,
potentially look at this
so
software?
with my target solutions, it's $85 per person, that covers fire, EMS, OSHA. I don't know if they offer just
Just a
an
module.
OSHA part of it, but I also have a regional grant that we applied for with like 13 other fire departments for this system called Lexipol. I'm not actually really sure what, I know Lexipol, they're gonna make, or they're gonna take all my rules and regs, SOPs, tweak them, make them compliant with national standards, issue them, it'll all be electronic. The firefighters and myself, anyone who works there will have to
Mhm.
read it, digitally sign off that you acknowledged it. And then there's a yearly subscription fee that some departments, we're not gonna re-up with it. We're just gonna pay the initial fee, and we're not gonna, because it's a grant, to have all this done, and then we have this in place. That's something that probably would be able to be done with the DPW as well. I know police have their own, I forget what it is. They've been using it for years for all their standard operating procedures or whatever. We have it, we have a paper binder and book that I've been working on for 2 years to try and update when I have spare time here and there. And the Lexipol would be really nice if we get this grant, but if we don't, not really concerned about it, because I'll have all new rules, SOPs and rules and regs will be vetted through town council, because, I mean, they're old.
Yeah.
The rules and regs are from 1991, when I got on, 91. They were updated like in 94. They don't really change much, because a rule and reg for a fire department doesn't really change throughout the course of business of a fire department. Standard operating procedures or standard operating guidelines do, because as technology changes, or how, you know, every time a firefighter dies in line of duty, there's a NIOSH investigation,
Mhm.
which is the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. They do a full investigation of why did this occur, and then they issue recommendations. And then you can build SOPs off of those recommendations to make sure it doesn't happen again. Because the last thing God forbid I ever want in this town is to lose a firefighter in the line of duty.
Right.
It's nothing in this town, other than saving another person, is worth someone's life.
Right.
So anything I can do to make that happen, I'm gonna do to make that happen.
Okay.
Anything else, Laura?
I'm good.
You good?
I asked all my questions the other day, well, almost all of them.
The blue column. So the blue column is the exact same numbers as the yellow column, with the exception of civilian dispatches, $120,000. That'll fund 3 full-time civilian dispatches. $4,000 under holiday pay, so when they're off, I can fill it with a civilian dispatcher at overtime, and $1,000 just so I can get them some type of shirt that says East Bridgewater Dispatch Communications, whatever it is. So that total is $125,000. I would put forth to the Finance Committee to take that $125,000 from the EMS account, which would bring up the total, that would be, the total that would come out of the EMS account yearly, or at least next year, would come from $550,000 to $685,000. We, if this is approved, will, once town meeting approves it, we'll put on a notice of opportunity for, you know, dispositions. We'll try and get them all hired for the July 1st. They'll be trained at the fire department for a few months until they totally understand how we operate, and then they will be moved up to the police department.
Okay, so here's my question.
Sure.
Okay. Well, are you done just with explaining,
I
I
am.
guess, what is? So, of course, we think it's a good idea. But, so my question is, $125,000 take out of the ambulance fund. It's gonna be dispatchers for both you and the police, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, right now, the police has their own dispatch.
Correct. They have one on
They have
duty.
one on duty. So what does that mean, you taking this $125,000, using that to pay for the 3, to cover the 2 budgets? but what does it mean?
It doesn't cover the two budgets, it
yeah.
only covers.
It's in addition to their
So what-
dispatch.
So what our plan is, the chief of police and I, we've had many discussions on this. We would like to have 2 dispatches during the day, the 8 to 4 shift,
Yep.
2 dispatches from 4 to 12, and 1
Overnight.
midnight to 8. Because theoretically, that's our quietest time.
Yep.
Now, sometimes we get house fires in the middle of the night, and now that dispatcher has to pretty much concentrate on that. But having said that, usually when we have that, the police are there anyways, so there's not a lot of communication going
Right.
on. In worst case scenario, and I don't really know how this is gonna play out,
Okay,
because for me, this is a new endeavor for me.
yep,
If we have that happen in the middle of the night, and the first time it happens and say it doesn't go well, I mean, I'm able to communicate from the back of my car to Plymouth County Control. And
right,
get whatever resource I need.
yep,
So if they're overwhelmed, I just pick up my phone and call the Plymouth County directly to get what I need.
so I guess, is this a nice to have, is it productivity gains, is it a better system to be in place?
So I think it's a better system. So
Okay.
right now, I am paying anywhere from $50,000 to almost $100,000 to have someone sitting on my desk at the station.
Which is a firefighter.
Which is a firefighter, or a lieutenant, or a deputy chief dispatching calls.
So will
Where
that
what they-
decrease any of your additional
Nope, because,
holiday pay comps, whatever?
because that'll still give you my 5.
Because then you'll then have the 5 instead of the 4.
I will have my 5. And all
So then you'll-
5
Right,
will be able to go out and do their jobs on the needed, on the streets,
And
rather
reduce
than
the
one
calls.
having to sit back and,
so then you won't have to
Dispatch.
call someone in
so,
on that 4 to
if
12.
I happen to be short-staffed that day, all 4 can go, the civilian dispatch can put out a tone, 2 members needed for station coverage. And rather than have to recall the entire department,
Mhm.
where I might get 1 member, I might get 50,
Yeah,
2-hour minimum.
right.
So it's 2 hours, 30 hours,
Okay.
or it's 4 hours.
Mhm.
So in future years, it could have an impact once you kind of understand.
It could, but I don't think so. I
Yeah.
can't say that with certainty because I've never embarked in this. So I can go back a few years back in 2014.
It's not gonna be a lot of savings because of the 5, of going from 4 to 5 to keeping them on, and the 120 plus the others is their salaries included in there.
Yeah, the
What
120 is the
about-
salaries.
Right, and what, are you talking full-time people, so there will be
Full-time.
benefits to the
Th-
town?
Yes, there would be,
So then there's that change to the town too.
correct.
But this is more of a public safety,
So,
like an assurance of public safety, because you actually have people who are able to respond to a call physically
Correct.
instead of sitting
let
behind
let-
a
let me
desk.
just read, and you have it also in your second page, but I'm just gonna read it.
Yeah.
I'll just read it for you. It says fiscal year 2020 budget with added civilian dispatch, FY '20 request, department request with civilian dispatch. I request that FinCom allow the hiring of 3 full-time dispatchers at a total cost of $125,000 per year, paid in full using funds from the ambulance account. The fire department is getting increasingly busier year after year, and as it stands now, a firefighter or fire officer performs dispatch tasks. Instead of hiring 3 new firefighters at a cost of approximately $156,000 per year, salaries only, not including contractual benefits, this will allow the fire department to have civilian dispatch, if it was housed in the fire station, 5 out of 7 days or 15 of 21 shifts. That's not gonna happen. They're going to be at the police department probably in a matter of 2 to 3 months, depending how quick they catch on.
Now, is that because they have the room there? Or better room,
It's
or?
not so much that they have the room. I don't personally have a need, so to say, to have a civilian dispatcher in my building 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay,
It would be better served if that person could supplement the police dispatcher, so when they get busy, there are 2 people there. One can concentrate on the incident that's going on, God forbid it's like an active shooter or something like that, and that person's married to the radio, where the other dispatcher now deals with all the phones,
yep,
whatever, any foot traffic, any medical calls where they have to do emergency medical dispatch, they can't hang up, they have to stay on the phone. So it just makes a lot of sense. On the flip side,
Yeah.
when I have a fire, and now it's communication intensive for the fire side, Now that dispatcher concentrates on fire, and the other dispatcher concentrates on all other tasks. So it'll work, it will work out
So you're
well.
gonna pay for it?
I'm gonna pay for the 3 that I'm gonna hire, yes.
So is the plan to have a bigger presence on the police side as well?
Well, I'm not sure what they have now. I think they have 3 full-timers and 3 part-timers. I'm not sure.
That's what they have.
I don't want to speak out of turn and say maybe
Mhm.
by hiring these 3 full-timers, it'll free up someone, 2 to,
Okay.
maybe some of those part-timers will become full-timers, and then we won't have the part-time. I really don't know.
Okay.
I'm gonna be straight up and honest.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
I'm just wondering, the cross departments, I mean, it's a great idea because you're gonna be sharing resources kind of thing.
Well,
But,
that's a little bit further down.
Oh, okay, great.
If they're all at the
Oh,
police
go ahead.
station though, can all your firefighters physically leave the station? And
I have
leave
a
the
plan.
station without anyone?
I have a plan for that too. So the dispatchers would be trained at the fire department and scheduled around our busiest times. After that training period, they would be moved to the police department. This is an overall benefit to both departments, as it will allow for one dispatcher to be assigned to a serious call or perform emergency medical dispatch, while the other dispatcher will be able to deal with radio traffic, telephone calls, and I didn't put any about foot traffic. They have a lot of foot traffic at the police department. In the future, I envision the fire and police departments will join a regional emergency communication center, or an RECC, but this may be years down the road as it depends on funding from the state 911 department, and that's all done through grants. You have to apply. If
Yeah,
they
we
show the
talked
need,
about that.
I was successful in getting one in 2014, but
Right.
it didn't happen. When and if that occurs, most, if not all, of the additional costs, to the town would already be in place by transferring the dispatches we currently have to the RECC. So I checked into a few things. I called,
Because isn't that the one where we're gonna try to house that in Bridgewater? Because he
no.
wanted it or
So,
something?
no, in 2013, I began this process with 3 Bridgewater fire departments to become a regional secondary PSAP. And I was gonna own it. Only because I was the junior chief and the other chiefs, both of them are no longer chiefs, now they're retired.
Right.
So they figured it'd be
Yeah.
smarter to
Let's
put
have
it
a
on
young
me.
kid do it.
Not saying I really wanted it, but I did. And we were successful in getting this grant. They were gonna build an addition off the fire station that would have 4 telecommunication dispatch centers, so
Yep.
the dispatch chairs, to do the 3 Bridgewater fire departments. And we had it planned out for future expansion to bring in others, whether it be police, other fire departments, whatever. We were gonna make it a big deal. For whatever reason, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not gonna get into it, it didn't happen. I had $187,000 checks in my desk drawer, it didn't happen, and I can understand it at the time. I mean, regional communication centers at the time were a new thing. So, it was a new thing. Sometimes when things are new, there's a little bit of pushback. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Now we wanna do it. I'm all for it.
Okay,
I'm not doing it though. I already did it once. I'm all for it though.
okay.
So I called Holbrook Regional Communication Center. They dispatch for Holbrook, Sharon, Rockland Police and Fire, Whitman Fire. They're the primary answering point for Whitman Police. They just transfer calls over, and Abington Fire. And I was like, throw me a number. What's it gonna cost for you just to take over dispatch for me? $160,000. I'm like, I can't do that. I can't. I don't have $160,000. I spoke with Chief Allen, and we come up with this plan that maybe this would be better, and not only that, but now we already have a system in place. So when we do go regional,
You could take it
it
on.
just transfers over.
Yep, okay.
I'm not so sure the town of East Bridgewater wants to take it on. I
I'm
mean,
gonna go with no.
we could, because state 911 will give you the money to do it, but you need a place to house them.
Right.
They
Where?
can no longer build an extension off my building because there's a big generator there now.
Right.
So it would have to be in some other location, and it will not be downstairs because there's not enough room. But anyways, we both, not only Scott and I, or Chief Allen and I, but, you know, the West Bridgewater Police Chief, Fire Chief, we all see the need that we need to consolidate, and
Yeah.
it is what it is. But it is a slow process. These are highly competitive grants. They already have communication centers that are out there now that they need to keep funneling money into to complete the projects that they've already started so they can be done with it. And then, but they still give them yearly incentives through state 911. If you ever look at your cell phone bill, your home phone bill, there's a $2 charge that says 911. That money goes to state 911 and is used for this purpose and to upgrade technology statewide.
Okay.
So by combining, in any event, the quality of service from the fire department will increase as it will allow the use of all on-duty personnel to respond to most calls without having to recall off-duty members when we would normally leave the station unmanned. Off-duty members will still be recalled for major incidents such as structure fires, woods fires, mass casualty incidents, etc. By combining forces with the police department for dispatch purposes, this would be a benefit to the town as it relates to public safety by having better situational awareness for both the fire and police departments as to what the other department is involved in. As an example, hate to use this, but an active shooter in a school or a business in town. On a more realistic note, just take storms. There's a dispatch Nick, resources for calls, we're dispatching our resources for calls. We might be overlapping. Only half to 50% of the time, we probably are overlapping. We may not have to do that anymore. You could handle the non-priority calls. Wires down, fire department has to go. It is what it is. But it just makes better situational awareness of what is actually going on in town. So if I pick up my radio and say, call on the fire alarm, can you give me a list of how many calls you have outstanding? And they'll be able to say, oh, we have 15 calls outstanding. We, 2 years ago, changed over to IMC, which is our now fire-based incident reporting, situational awareness, whatever you want to call it. I have a computer in my car that lists all my apparatus, where they are, what they're doing, who's available, and any pending calls I have. Haven't been able to try it out in a storm yet, though. But I'm looking forward to it, because I want to see all these pending calls.
Again, with the storm.
Right, but that's my life, though,
Yeah.
that's what I do. I've missed one, I was on a cruise, unfortunately,
Cruise.
for the first blizzard we had.
He's not
Sending
good.
me pictures.
John, I'm sorry, but you asked for it, and I showed you the two pictures, one was for you, but you weren't there.
It's still my screensaver when you call.
I know, so, it'll just provide better situational awareness. It'll also provide almost like a redundancy there, where there's a backup to the dispatcher that's there. So when they get overwhelmed, what I don't ever want is, I have a house fire, there's one dispatcher there, and they miss the word Mayday. So a Mayday in the fire service is, I'm in trouble, I can't get out of the situation I'm in, I need someone to come rescue me.
Yep,
If that's missed, precious time is delayed.
right.
And that dispatcher could be calling the gas company. or
That
the
dispatch
electric
could
company
be
to do it.
answering 911 for emergency medical dispatch call.
Having witnessed personally how crazy dispatch can get, just that being in the same physical location
Right.
will improve the
Absolutely,
community, the quality of the timeliness and the communications and
correct.
the response time, yeah.
So the three dispatchers, they would be paid out of the fire department budget. We haven't worked out the details yet of, but I'm assuming I'm gonna have control, the police department's gonna have control. It's a mutual agreement, a mutual endeavor. I'm not really overly worried about that. I don't see the police department making my life difficult. It's just never gonna, we don't have that relationship in East Bridgewater. A lot of towns, police fire might not see eye to eye. I've been here 27 years. We've gotten along for 27 years, and it's only gotten better in the last 7 or 8. So, now, that being said, it's civilian dispatch. I want
Yes.
to talk about the ambulance account, because that's what's gonna be paid from.
Yes, let's talk about the ambulance account. How's that bill? Any movement on?
None,
Okay, good.
yes. And I hate to say it with any uncertainty, but I don't think that'll go, because there's some pretty big lobbying agencies in the state, like the Professional Firefighters of Massachusetts,
Okay, good.
Fire Chiefs Association of Massachusetts, that politicians probably don't want to ruffle feathers.
Okay.
Of course, the
Well, then I
insurance,
won't bring it up again.
but of course, the insurance industry also has their heavy hitters as well.
Yes.
So there's always that uncertainty. However, so July 1st, 2018, the ambulance account balance was $941,252.41. July 1st, 2018, $550,000 was taken out of that to offset the fire department budget, thereby freeing up that amount of money for the general fund for all other towns, school district, whatever. Bringing the total down to $391,252.41. As of January 31st, that account now sits at $959,508.80. We brought in $568,256.39. When I started 7 or 8 years ago, that's about what we were bringing in per year.
Okay.
Between, it might have been a little bit higher, it might have been 6, maybe 650. If we stay on par, the anticipated deposits for FY19 will be $974,153.81. The anticipated balance on June 30th, 2019 will be $1,365,406.22. After if the FinCom agrees to this and town meeting approves it, after the $685,000 decrease out to the general fund to offset the transfer out, the balance will be on July 1st, 2019, $680,406.72, which, going back, is still about $300,000 more than what we started with this fiscal year.
Okay.
Now, people are gonna look at that and say, whoa, $600,000 there. It is, and it isn't, because
You need to pay for
that ambulance account pays
ambulance.
for ambulances,
Right.
EMS equipment. Now, mind you, I used to replace ambulances every 3 years for about
Right.
200, and I think the last one I did was $264,000.
Mm-hmm.
No, it came at 262.9, I think. I asked for 265, I think, so it came at 262.9. If I bought a brand-new one from scratch, it's gonna be more like $315,000, maybe $325. Over the next 9 years, after A3 comes in new,
Right.
the 9 years following that, it will not be that amount, because I'm gonna re-chassis the
Because the
ambulances.
boxes
Because I'm gonna
last
try
9
and
years.
save that 50,000. In saving the 50, I'm not really saving 50, because I have to add 20, because the stretcher systems, they're good for 9 years.
Yeah.
After 9 years, Stryker will not
Guaranteed.
validate, warranty, certify that those stretchers are good. Even though you could go to a city where they're used 24 times a day, you're in East Bridgewater, they may only be used 6 to 8 times a day.
How much does it cost to re-chassis? Or put it on there?
When I asked before, it was $50,000 less, so say I did it with my A3, which I couldn't do with, because it was a totally different ambulance or patient compartment, the cost would have been about $215,000.
Okay.
So, we are not gonna replace ambulances every 3 years. We're gonna replace ambulances now every 4 years. We're gonna try and get an extra year out of them. This current ambulance I just bought now comes with I got the extended warranty, I believe it's 8 years.
Okay.
Yes, because I'm done with paying maintenance fees. And it is a bumper to bumper, everything, and it's worth it for me, because the money I've spent on A3,
Right.
money well spent. So, having said that, the $680,000 will be there July 1st. Continuing on with the budget as we normally would, the following year, there would be probably $1 million of, I'm not gonna call it free cash, because it's not free cash.
It is
It's
not free
meant
cash.
for this.
Right.
However, if I'm not successful in getting a new ladder truck from the federal government through the Assistance to Firefighters
You're
Grant,
gonna need it. for
my
that.
plan is to take money that is in the ambulance account sitting there and through town meeting, transfer it over the capital.
Because you have that 1-year window coming up. Is it 1 year? Because you're gonna replace the ambulance this year,
2 years, 2 years.
but then in
No,
2
I'm sorry, it's a
years, you'll
3-year
have
window, really.
the 3-year window.
Because this one was ordered last year, it'll
Yep.
come in now. So yeah, 3 years from now, we'll replace another one, that'll be 4 years out. And if it's in good working order and all that, maybe it goes 5 years.
When do you do the chassis? Is that next year?
No, the chassis will be, let's see, my
3
2013
years?
ambulance would be 2020, it would be a 2023 model year. So what are we, FY19? the 2020s are coming out in July. Yeah, it'd be 3 years after that.
So 3, okay.
So I would have to order it a year prior, because it takes
Yep.
about 270 days. Well, it takes 270 days to build from new. I don't know how, I'm thinking maybe 6 months for a re-chassis.
Okay,
Because it still has to go to the factory. They pull the whole thing off, refurb the whole box, and put it back on a new chassis and send it back. So there is money there. There will be money there. It's not like the ambulance account is, I will not allow the ambulance account to ever get below $250,000. That's something I've spoken with George Sammy about many times. I don't care who in town says, there's $250,000 sitting there. That $250,000 is, if I have an ambulance that is destroyed and it needs to be replaced
right.
in an emergency, that money's there to cover that.
Well, technically, it's not there to pilfer money from anyway.
Correct,
It is there to support your department
correct.
with your,
And what I'm
real-
trying to-
with
what
your
I'm-
needs.
And what I'm trying to do is, because there is money there to do that,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I look and say, you know, I'm in a position now by raising rates, changing building companies, that I've increased fees.
What were fees last year? What did you bring into the ambulance fund last year?
Oh, I wish you'd asked that.
I'm just wondering, so you're anticipating like 954,000, like how
Yeah,
consistent the increase
You
has
know, I
been?
don't know if you saw me, I was trying to log into my computer so I could bring it in, because I could have my desktop, but I can't make the connection. So I can't get that information for you. It's not, it wasn't $1 million. It wasn't, I mean, I'm forecasting 974.
Yeah,
It could be upwards of all of 1.1, 1.2.
but you don't.
I always go low.
think that could be consistent in the future years
This, what I'm forecasting now, absolutely will be consistent. Unless the legislature changes it and says we're only gonna pay your Medicare rates, then we have a problem. But there'll be money in there to try and figure out a solution to the problem. It'll buy me time to figure out a solution. Almost like the stabilization fund the town has. If something happens, you know, we have time, we can dip into that to figure out a solution. Same deal here. This will never be stripped down to, there's
Right.
$10 in it in July 1st. It'll never happen. I can't allow that to happen.
okay.
It's just not good practice.
So, do you have any more questions, Melanie? Okay. So again, I'm just trying to wrap my head around the dispatch. So right now, during the day, you have firefighters or fire officers doing the dispatch.
So let me tell you how it works. So
Okay.
today, there was 6 people on duty today. There
Yep.
was 5 on the shift,
Yep,
and my deputy on days.
okay,
So when they get a medical call today, the police transfer the call down, say, you know, either they transfer the 911 or they tell us you have whatever chest pain at 123 Any Street.
yep,
My guys take the call, write it down, start IMC, dispatch it out. 2 leave in the ambulance, 1 leaves in the squad, which is the pickup truck.
yep,
Excuse me. That leaves 3 going, 3 back.
okay,
Now the medical, 2 leaves 1 back.
yep,
That one man, that one firefighter,
becomes the
I can't
dispatch.
say man, because I have a woman that works with me now, and I
Right.
apologize.
Fire person,
I apologize, Jen.
firefighter,
The firefighter is now by themselves.
okay,
God forbid we have a house fire that comes in
Mhm.
at that moment, and God forbid they say, my child's trapped inside.
right,
We have now become an OSHA state. OSHA says you cannot enter a burning building unless there are 2 people inside
and
and
one
2
out.
people
Oh,
outside.
2 people,
So there has to be 4 people on the fire ground.
okay,
There is an exception to that rule, whereas if it is an imminent danger to a person, you can violate that and go in and get them. I know what I would do, and I would do it alone and do that.
mm-hmm,
That's what I signed up for it.
yeah.
If I die doing it, sorry, it is what it is.
Well, we don't want to
That's
do
never
that.
happened in East Bridgewater.
Right,
That's not to say it's never going to. No, I'm just speaking honestly. 27 years I've been doing this. Well, I'm sorry, it only happened once where we actually had to go inside and rescue someone, and it was a long time ago. But that's not to say it can't happen, and I have to plan for
right.
what if it happens.
And I'm looking at more for it from a money standpoint, meaning, so I understand your coverage, but I'm trying to wrap my head around combining with the police where they already have dispatch and kind of making it utilizing the same folks.
But that would only allow for 1 person to be on to cover both police and fire for the town 24 hours a day.
Well, they have 3 people.
No,
One per shift.
dispatchers.
Right.
Dispatchers.
So
no.
you want to add to that so that
So.
in
so-
total you'll have 6 full-time and 3 part-time to cover? Is that what we're saying?
I can't speak for Chief Allen.
Yeah,
What I know is what they have now is 3 full-time, 3 part-time.
yeah,
And I think that now, finally, I think he's been working on this for years,
right.
finally covers civilian dispatch 24 hours a day, 7 days.
It does. Yes, I meant.
What I want to do is say, okay, listen, I want to cover 8 to 4, 4 to 12 with full-time dispatchers for the fire.
And that takes 3 people,
It does,
but
because,
not including like when they're out or whatever. That's where the 3 part-time will come in and help cover?
well, I budgeted $4,000 in additional comp to cover them
Yep,
overtime if someone was out.
okay.
No, listen,
So if one of your dispatchers was out, an officer would fill that dispatch, the same as ultimately.
a firefighter will not fill that
No,
Yeah.
for me, that will not happen.
yeah.
Okay.
No, he's,
We have designed a system where the odds of a police officer, I wish you was here because I don't want to speak out of turn.
but we
And-
almost had him come the same night, but,
But I don't want to say something that might be contrary
Yep.
to what his thought process is. But I think we're really on the same page. The goal is to not have a police officer or firefighter ever have to do dispatch.
right,
Because their job
that's not their job,
is out
technically.
there.
Right,
That's where they need to
Yep.
be. And
Okay.
honestly, that's the best bang for the buck for the taxpayer too.
right,
Why am I paying my deputy fire chief for like $100,000 a year to talk on
We
the
want people to
radio?
work
He
to
should
top
be out
their
there
Right.
doing the job.
no, I get it, I guess I was just trying to think from a
So,
productivity
so the
standpoint.
plan would be, so they would still have their 24/7 coverage.
Yep,
I would just supplement by having a civilian up there, 8 to 4, 4 to 12, there'd be 2 people now. Midnight Tates, we've already decided that that is a fairly
One.
quiet time. We can more than likely get away
yep.
with only having the 1.
Okay,
And like I said, I can't guarantee any certainty that that is gonna be the absolute case. I don't see how it won't be,
mhm,
because we're generally quiet now. This is a bedroom community. 11 o'clock, about 11 o'clock at night, things get quiet. I mean, we still do ambulance calls through the night, but an ambulance call is not a lot of communication. You're dispatching it, you acknowledge that it's on the air, you
Right.
acknowledge it's on
And then
scene,
you
you
do-
acknowledge it goes to the hospital, you acknowledge it's clear, and then you don't even acknowledge it's back in service, because IMC does that. The only time there'll be an issue is when there's a structure fire. We don't have structure fires every day. We honestly average about 1 every 18 months
okay,
of significance.
yep,
We may have house fires, but they're not significant where I have to bring in a whole bunch of mutual aid.
mhm,
So I think this plan will really work out well. And I don't foresee having to come back and saying, I am sorry, I was wrong, we need more money, this isn't working. I'm serious, you
No,
laugh, but I'm serious.
no, I know, I'm
because-
laughing, you're like, I don't wanna say I'm
Because
sorry.
I have been involved
I was wrong.
since 2013, trying to find a way that I can get civilian dispatch.
Right.
But I can't, in good faith, for myself as a fire chief and as a taxpayer in the town as well,
Mhm.
have a civilian dispatcher sitting at the fire station doing this when there's no calls going on, when they would be better served backing up the police, because they're busier than they are.
Yep.
with phone calls, calls for service, whatever. They're busier than we are when it comes to the stuff like that. And it's, like I was saying, just every time somebody calls 911 that needs an ambulance, that dispatcher has to stay on the phone until we arrive. And then
Right,
they can,
Then
they
they
can
can-
clear the call. So whatever else is happening, they have to like hold that phone and figure something out.
yep.
It's too much, you know?
Yeah.
It's too much.
I'm not saying it's not a good idea, I'm just, like I said, trying to wrap my head around the productivity, because I guess I was thinking that if you did add that, right now you have firefighters doing it, if you did add the dispatch, would the overtime go down? Would like,
No.
no,
So,
because they're on their day
So my-
shift
my-
anyway, so
so
it
my-
doesn't matter.
so my plan is, quite honestly, if town meeting of FinCom Service says, nope, we don't want it. Okay. Then I have to come back next year
And do the same
and ask for
thing.
2.5 override to hire more people to do civilian dispatch, but they won't be civilian, they'll be sworn.
Right,
It makes no sense to me.
yep,
I'm gonna be paying them a lot more money than I'd be paying a civilian. Now, I don't wanna talk illy about anybody who works for me, because they're all a great group of people.
mhm.
Some of them are not, they're just not dispatchers. You know what I mean?
Well,
They're just not
certain skill.
dispatchers, exactly. Dispatchers don't want to be firefighters, and some of them don't want to be police officers. That's just like their own profession. They want to take the 911 calls, talk on the radio, dispatch, and do it. That's what they want to do,
Okay,
which is great.
yep,
That's what you find in these regional communication centers. They are just professional dispatchers.
that's what they do.
And that's what they do.
Well, and it's a skill, right? It's-
Exactly.
Right.
It's a skill,
And
and
you-
you're helping the town in providing a safety measure if you have someone who's skilled answering that phone. It
Correct. It's
benefits
just,
the community.
for me, because I live this life, is a no-brainer to me. I don't want to sound to anyone who might be listening at home when this airs that I'm talking down to the public, because I'm not. This is a no-brainer for me because it allows all my people, if I need all my people
do their
right now to go out and
jobs.
do a call, right now, and I know that out of the 5, 6, or possibly 7 that are there during the day, then they can all go do the call. And I know that at least 3 of them are gonna be in service within a few moments. I don't need to recall anybody now. If I dump the station now, I have to recall, because the station's empty. So, in the event when we do go dark, meaning there's no one there, it's unmanned, I have a capital request that I put forth that I put a number there of like 65,000, and I even put in that it said, this number's going to be lower. I don't know what the number is yet, but it's going to be lower. I have a camera system right now at the fire station. The IT director, I've already spoken to him, should be no issues, taking that feed and adding a TV or a monitor at the police department where they can see my place. They can see
So
my
they know.
foyer. So when someone walks into the foyer, that dispatcher knows, there's nobody there. There'll be a phone on the wall. They will pick that phone up. It'll ring directly to the dispatcher at the police department. Or vice versa, they're sitting there, walking around in circles, clueless, don't see the phone, dispatcher goes, oh, there's someone on the foyer. They can pick up the phone, and that phone will ring, or they could be able to say, pick up the phone. Because that's my ultimate fear. This is the ultimate fear I've had for years. I use up all my people, they all go out on calls, I recall people. It could take upwards of 10 minutes for somebody to come in. 1 minute after everyone dumps out and leaves that station empty, somebody comes in who's having chest pain.
You mean walks in?
We have walking medicals often. So say this person comes in having crushing chest pain, and they collapse in my foyer and go into cardiac arrest. It could be 9 minutes before someone comes in the front door and goes, oh,
Hello.
not cool.
Yeah,
We are in a day and age when that just should not happen.
Yep.
And I'm gonna say one other thing on this for people who are listening. You don't have smoke detectors in your house? Put smoke detectors in your house.
carbon
This is a
monoxide.
day and age when that just should never happen. People have been dying across the Commonwealth the past 2 years because they don't have smoke detectors in their house.
And
Pay
carbon-
20 bucks.
Carbon monoxide.
Call us, we'll help you out.
You come
But,
change the batteries in my house, because my mother calls.
absolutely. You're part of the smoke detector program. I put in the town report every year.
Because apparently I can't change a battery. So
Michelle?
Mary calls, yeah.
We're good.
Yeah,
We're good.
it's all good.
Your mother's the same.
Yeah,
I remember changing them years ago when I was lieutenant, and that's going back a while, but anyway, she's the same.
Yeah.
So anyways, so now at least when that station's empty and somebody comes in and they need help, they can either pick up the phone or the dispatcher can pick up the phone and call them. If they collapse, they can see, oh my God, that person
then
collapsed,
send,
and then they can push a
call
button.
whoever they need to.
East Bridgewater Fire Department, County Patrol, you mutual aid ambulance to the fire station for a walk-in medical, cardiac arrest, whatever, and they can dispatch whoever's out on the road. You have a walk-in medical, person's collapsed, whatever, and then they can respond back.
Okay.
They wouldn't know that
Mhm.
if nobody was there. They just wouldn't know that.
Yep.
And that is my fear, especially at night, in the middle of the night when, everyone's home sleeping, including all of my off-duty firefighters. And we use all our resources, because usually at night now, because of the crisis event, I only have 4 at night. So when the second medical comes in, the place is empty.
Right,
And if somebody comes in, they can't get in past the foyer. It's a totally locked down building now.
yep.
But
But
there's
if you have
no
the camera,
way
you
for
can
them to
see.
communicate. There's nothing there for them. So I have an article for capital for that hopefully will get passed so we can, it's a 2-part process. We want to update the firmware and the new radio system we got that's really not new anymore, it's 5 years old, and install these pieces to make this whole system work seamlessly. So that's where I'm at with this. And I believe, you got my 5-year capital
Yeah,
plan.
and I was just trying to remember, I don't think I sent it out to anybody
No.
yet, so I'll forward it around.
I'm good, I'll give this, I brought an extra
Oh.
copy.
Thank you.
Can I
Of
ask
course
you
he
a
did.
question?
You surely can.
All right, is a tower truck and a ladder truck, are they the same or
They are
different?
not. So
Okay.
a tower truck we currently now have a tower truck. It is a ladder truck with a platform on the end. A ladder truck is a ladder truck with no platform on the end. Price difference is about $110,000. I honestly, I was gonna go to town meeting this year for new ladder truck. But I'm up in the air, honestly, I'm undecided as to whether I wanna go with a ladder truck, just a straight stick ladder, or another platform. Platform is much safer to work off of. One of my concerns is take, the third floor of the central school. Something happens there. Granted, it's a sprinklered building,
Yep,
kids should be able to evacuate out. Those kids are not capable of self-preservation.
no.
My job is to self-preservate for them. And if I have to put a ladder to a third floor window and go in and take all those kids out, and we can do that. It'll be a lot harder to do that with a ladder truck though, because now you gotta walk all those kids, you gotta walk.
While maintaining 3 points of
Yeah, I was just
contact.
about to say
Under
that.
Well, yeah, some rules go out the window when it comes to life safety, but the second floor, I believe, is second grade. I think when he was in second grade, he was on the second, room 209 he was. Second graders. My son's 8 years old.
Yeah.
He's not capable of self-preservation.
No.
He thinks he is.
Hey, mine's 17, same.
Did you have to say that? I mean,
I just wanted it on record. Yeah, I just wanted it on record.
Is Central, Central School the tallest building in East Bridgewater that
uh,
that truck would be used for something like that, or maybe
It is-
anything else in town?
it is, it's close to being one of the tallest buildings. We don't have many buildings in town that are over 3 stories. Biggest problem
Right,
I have is you
yeah.
go down to Captain's Way, that whole subdivision out there.
Oh, yeah.
So when we bought our ladder truck in 1996 and got it in 1997, it's an 85-foot ladder. So if I park that ladder on the street and put it to the roof of a house on Captain's Way, it's not even gonna come
It's
close.
gonna come to the
Because the
side.
setback is a lot farther. But when we bought the truck, it would be able to reach pretty much almost every building in East Bridgewater. That was 22 years ago.
Right,
There's a lot of subdivisions now that have much greater setbacks. So the new truck will not be 85, it'll be 104 feet.
Okay.
Which gives me, like another 19, 20 feet. Whether it's a straight stick ladder or a tower, it'll be 104 feet, because I have to have that reach.
Yeah.
Not only that, it'll have the ability to go downgrade too, so a few years, not a few years, but a long time ago, actually, we had heavy rains, you remember it, 7 days straight,
Yep.
solid rain, flooding everywhere. And we had some people decide they were gonna go canoeing in the river off Spring Street.
I know.
They made it 10 feet, they capsized. They were hanging on to trees and everything else. This truck will be able to reach out, go right down, and pick them right up out of there and bring you back. We had to do it with a boat. It's a versatile piece of equipment. Some people will sit there and say, why do you need a ladder truck? And I can honestly sit there and say sometimes, sometimes we don't. You're absolutely right. But at one time I do. At one time, I am not able to rescue someone because I don't have that resource. Shame on me.
because the platform won't work in that case.
Well, take the tower truck that I have that was out
Yeah.
of service for 3 months at one whack.
Oh, well,
I mean, I have mutual aid
it's
that
not
comes
helping
in,
anybody then.
but if mutual aid's busy like we are doing ambulance calls, that truck might not be coming until they get backfilled to recall to bring it and.
Right.
So my plan now with civilian dispatch, the way it works right now, if we get a call for house fire right now, 4 members will leave, 4 firefighters leaving in the station and going to the call in an engine. 1 staying back to dispatch. That will change with civilian dispatch comes. 3 will go in the engine, 1 will go in the tower, and 1 will go in an ambulance. I have minimum 5 people there, and then when I show up, it's 6. So if we have to rescue a victim, I have an ambulance sitting right there. At that point, I don't really care if your house burns down. Life is more important than a building, so we can transport you. If we have someone hanging out of a window, we can ladder that building and rescue them. So every piece of apparatus I could possibly need will be there on the first due, rather than having to wait. That's the plan. And that's another benefit of the civilian dispatch. For that firefighter that would be sitting on the desk, who's a trained, certified firefighter that should be going to the call, instead he's talking on the radio.
Yeah.
Now, he's going to the call, or she's going to the call. No brainer for me.
Okay.
So there's two things I have for capital this year. I have a new replacement of a 2007 Chevy Tahoe for $45,700, which I had no intention of doing this year. That was supposed to be next year. But the town administrator mentioned that the old Tahoe that I gave to the town is done for. So they need, whether it be an admin vehicle for the assessors or town hall or whatever, or potentially the dog officer as well. That vehicle's gonna be handed over to town hall, so to say, like we did with the other one.
Yep.
I just moved it up a year. FY '21, $1 million for a new ladder or tower. And if I do not get an AFG grant for the ladder this year, I am going to apply for an AFG grant for a ladder next year, and I'm going to keep applying for it until I get it, or if the town, gets it, but it is what it is. And then in FY '21, this is kind of it's a medium priority. It's the Phase 3 renovation of the fire department of the second floor, because still today, 50% of the second floor of the fire station remains unfinished. It was never finished when the building was built in 65, 66. They did as much of the second floor that you can see where it stops. And the rest is just plywood and drywall.
Since 1965?
60s, some in the mid-60s.
Okay. Well-
I think they moved into the building in 67. Your mother would know, but still, all those years, it's never
It's
been,
probably there that day.
it's never been finished. And I did have a couple phases before where I renovated the first floor 2 years ago, made it a safe environment now where
The lock.
the public before, I never got burned permit. You walk front door, walk right down the hall, do whatever you want to do.
Right.
Hang
The
out
station's
with
empty,
But
there's
hey,
a TV, whatever. You can't do that anymore, it's impossible. And I was adding 2 bays off the back.
Yep.
Because we've outgrown our space, so to say. We have that annex building, but it's just packed. It's packed. Following year will be the re-chassis of the 2013 Ambulance 1, which would be FY '22, which would make it a 2023 model year vehicle. In 2024, did I talk to FinCom? I know I talked to Cap a few years back about a 20-year plan for replacing fire pits. Did I? Okay.
Yes.
So that would be the final engine, because back in, if you recall, in 1996, I don't know if everyone was here at the time, 1996, we had a town meeting where we got funding for $1.2 million, which is funny, for 2 engines, a ladder, a forest fire, and a service truck. I can get a ladder truck for $1.2 million now, but, so we got 2 engines, a ladder, a forest fire, service truck in 1996.
okay,
I've already replaced one of those 2 engines,
right, that was two.
which is
last
engine
year,
1,
or-
which is a 2017 engine.
Yep.
Next up, wasn't gonna be the ladder, was gonna be the next engine. I was trying to get 30 years out of the ladder. So obviously, that's
Not gonna happen.
by the maintenance records as proof,
Yep.
that's not gonna happen. The third engine's in pretty good condition still. It's a reserve piece anyways, not really worried about it. That can wait, so I'm figuring FY 2024. And that's just on here as just to keep a thought in your head later, that's gonna come up.
Okay,
That might even be able to push back another year.
okay,
That's a 1996. So I don't want to make it go any more than 2026, because now it's 30 years old.
right.
And FPA says 15 years frontline, 5 years reserve, then it's out of here. Of course, in FPA, that they deal with rural volunteer fire departments up to the city of New York.
Because you were gonna try to sell it up to someplace in Maine.
Right,
The
so
old one.
the old one I got, they wanted to give me $5,000 for a trade. I was like, no, put out to auction, I got to like $700-800. And some volunteer fire department in New York has it now, and they're thrilled, tickle pink with it,
There you go.
even though it's all rusted out in the chassis.
Well-
And the last year would
It's
be,
as is.
FY 2024, which was part of that 5 years out, I was saying, was replacement of the personal protective equipment. And that would be the half replacement of the full. So if I have 30 people, 15 sets would be replaced. And then we'll go on a rotating basis from then. But in between all this, a lot of this is very fluid and subject to change because every year, and hopefully the federal government continues this with the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program. I mean, I brought in a lot. I just brought in $185,000 to replace air packs last year.
Oh, yeah.
That was on the list.
Yeah, the AED ones from the,
I got the AEDs from the AFG, and that was on and these are all gone now, which is awesome.
yeah,
anytime there's a grant to apply for, I
You're
apply
there.
for the grant. So I will give you that.
Okay,
I will give you a copy of what I did for, no, I'll give you this copy. It's just my handwritten scratch from the Emmons account,
okay,
so you have an understanding of that.
thank you.
And that is all I have.
All right.
Any other questions? Really? Wow.
Wow,
Sorry, John. I didn't
Everyone's
think
just
it was
like,
gonna be an hour and a half.
Try to make eye contact with Jen.
Hey, no more questions, I'm out. Thanks.
Oftentimes it's me and I feel bad for the people
Uh,
behind, so now I know what it feels like.
see?
Thank you, seriously, so I've been doing this for 7 or 8 years.
Somebody
I
ran
just
the
wanted
race.
to publicly sit here and say thank you for your time. I know you guys are all volunteers doing this. It is a thankless job.
Yes.
We know this is a thankless job. Just, you know, stay the course. Some of you have been here, I know there's 3 new members, but stay the course. Appreciate it, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Have a great night. John, I'm sorry I'm upset.
Michelle, can I take those and scan them?
No.
You're gonna scan them?
You want to scan all 3 of these? There's 3 pages.
Yeah.
The committee's willing to bear with me. I have prepared a PowerPoint presentation for the benefit of the new members, but also for the, recognizing we have a viewing public now. This is a hard copy bill because I always like to have a plan B in case
Just in case.
it doesn't show.
I'm not sure.
I will ask Dan just to shift over a little to his right.
Oh, thanks, John.
Thank you.
All of that, yeah.
We can keep this on.
I'm gonna just bring this stuff that I sent Peter.
Yeah, you came and got it earlier. I saw that. I mean, I heard it. What'd you say? Yeah, go.
You want to shift that?
Go back. Do you need help?
I did know, but I'm not sure you can.
Take that out. Mm-hmm.
It's actually on. Didn't expand decimals.
Yes. The other thing the PowerPoint's supposed to do is keep me on track.
I
Excellent.
like it.
Thank you.
Do you need to turn the lights down a little bit or no? Or-
See how it goes. So we did do this afternoon, make sure everything worked.
Sorry.
That was like 3 hours ago at this point. 2 if the chief hadn't gone home.
All right. I'm so tired.
I don't know if, you're gonna be able to catch any of this on TV, I know it's late though, so I don't see it. But again, essentially what's on the screen is what you have in your packets. appreciate the opportunity to come before the committee tonight and just, I actually look at it, it's really our only opportunity as department heads throughout the year to really discuss our budgets and our operations and oftentimes the things we do within the community, so, you know, we joke about, you know, these things tend to go for a little bit, but again, it's a real opportunity to not only educate and discuss with the finance committee, but now actually to allow the public to have some insight into what we do as well. So again, John Haynes, I'm the Director of Public Works, for, again, the viewing public that may not, I realize I'm up against the State of the Union, so.
Yeah.
I think you might be safe.
So what we have, DPW is Department of Public Works. And in that, we are a very comprehensive department. We cover a number of different areas of operations throughout the town. It's actually 7 different areas, divisions, as we refer to them, that we're responsible for, that service different residences, facilities, areas of the community. Cumulatively, our budget's almost $6 million overall. But as you can see, it's broken into, again, 7 different divisions. And within those divisions, we have general government expenses, we have highway and land management, we have snow removal, fleet maintenance, facilities maintenance, and what's a new division within DPW this year, but has been existing for a few years, is municipal wastewater. Each of these I'll delve into a little bit more as I go on. And then we have enterprise funds, which I think a number of people are familiar with, but some may not be. Those are dedicated funds that are revenue-based, or revenue-driven, our solid waste program and our water revenue, you know, our water operations, which is water distribution, water treatment. And with the 2 enterprise, we collect revenue, which offsets those operational expenses. Really, the simplest, those are businesses.
Yeah.
Those are little mini businesses that the town runs, and revenue generator and cost offsets.
Yep.
So, to that point, we have a proposed FY 2020 budget of $2,317,008. That would be considered, you know, general government expenses. That's directly driven from the tax base, taxpayer funded. And then we have $3,640,632 that is enterprise based. So again, that's those 2 little mini businesses that's the operational cost, but again, we offset those with revenue. Trying to be, you know, in the end, you try to be at least cost neutral, you know, a little bit positive. And again, I don't want to sound condescending, and obviously the fire chief and police and, you know, public safety and those are critical entities within the town. But we often say in Public Works, if we don't move, nobody moves. If we don't have the streets cleared during snowstorms, if we don't have the trees cleared, if the flooding isn't alleviated, all of the public safety services in the world can't access those emergencies if Public Works hasn't been there and done their job in the first place, and even to house fires. And if we can't provide adequate water supply for, you know, fire safety and things like that. So the 3 of us, the 3 departments, all 3, what we call all 3 legs of public safety, Public Works. Tim alluded to it, but we all work very, very well together. It's really a great partnership that we, you know, I think we all recognize and we all enjoy that sense that we kind of have each other's back, you know, and we're there, again, through thick and thin, you know, the best of it and the worst of it. I thought I'd
Because
start
you
with,
have to go to every, if there's an accident, you go there to clean up.
where
If
typically
there's snow, you plow,
we respond,
flooding.
in one sense or another, almost to we'll be at every significant public safety, matter. And I allude to a little bit of that as the presentation goes through.
Okay.
And I thought I'd start with snow and ice, because it's usually a hot button topic that we, this year we are experiencing an unusually mild, an unusual, winter. Has had its own challenges though, because I think probably a number of people are dealing with the fact that we have gotten record-breaking rainfall. And that record-breaking rainfall is leading to issues that we still need to address, because there's a lot of, water being discharged onto the public way. So that, and then we've had some extreme temperatures swings back and forth. So we've still had a relatively busy winter in the fact that we've been having to address those, but they're on a much more limited situation. So again, all of us appreciate our sleep.
Right.
Very much, not only from a operational standpoint, but from a fiscal standpoint too.
Right.
It can be a real impact on the community. Although, and again, to your benefit, for the new individual's benefits, snow and ice removal is funded at an annual operational budget of $50,000. I think we all recognize that's not an actual figure, but by Mass General Law, snow and ice removal is the only line item that the town can overexpend its budget without a vote of going back to town meeting or this and that. So on average, for the last 5 years, our average snow and ice budget is around $350,000. That's what we budget for, and that's what is set aside. But in the event that we don't have to expend that money goes back to the general fund and is utilized in that sense. So that's why for more than 20 years, that budget's remained at $50,000. But in the event that we exceed that, and honestly, we already, even with the mild winter we've had, we've already exceeded that, just material costs. Simply to purchase the salt that we use.
Are you still doing that in bulk?
Yes, yeah, we per ton, and we've got a relatively good price per ton this year, which is nice. That makes a huge difference. That can be a 20% variance on our cost for winter operations, just on what we pay per ton, because we use about 3,000, on an average winter, we'll use about 3,000 tons of salt to treat, almost 90-plus miles of road, and we've got about 20 acres of municipal and school parking lots.
Is the liquid salt working better?
So what we're in the process of moving towards was an actual salt brine, which would be a pre-treatment, which will help. We haven't made the full investment with that. We're actually working with the community of Easton. We did make the $150,000 investment in that. So right now, we're doing a swap, and actually working with Fire Chief. They just procured, we were able to procure a tanker unit through Mass Wildlife, the DCR. So we'll be able to utilize that to do, pre-treatment applications.
Oh,
But,
nice, that's good.
yeah, that's really gonna be that's the next step in our snow and ice, management.
Mm-hmm.
We're very excited about the possibilities, because what that'll all do is that pre-treatment will go out during regular operational hours, daytime, no overtime costs related to it. We can
Right.
save some, but that, again, snow and ice for us, it's not about dollars and cents. It strictly comes down to public safety. Our first job is to make our roads safe for the moving public.
Yeah.
One of the things you told me the other day that I never realized, and Tim and I were talking about this, is that you guys monitor the police and fire radio stations when you're out, and if there is an emergency call and you have a plow nearby, the plow is immediately dispatched to make sure that they have access to the house where the emergency is.
Absolutely. It just goes to the partnership that we all have.
Yeah,
Recognize that if there's an emergency medical call at someone's home, well, we all are on, again, an investment the community's made for the radio systems. We all have systems that can monitor each other
that's great.
and communicate back and forth. A lot of communities haven't made that investment. So literally, we know that if a call comes in for 123 Anywhere Street, and we will have the nearest truck responds there, just to make sure that when that ambulance shows up, they can access the driveway, they can get through the snowbank, you know, people can get in and out. We're out anyway, we're already in
Right.
operations, it's not, it's just a partnership, you know, because the quicker those firefighters can get into that, you know, situation, you know, and police as well, you know, if they have to respond someplace, you know, we're usually, most of the time, those units are already in that area that are responding, so we've been there before, police and fire, on a number of, you know, in a sense, Public Works, and again, not to sound condescending or whatever, but can truly be first responders on numerous situations. We're there first. And I alluded to that a little bit. Primary, you know, responsibility of Public Works is highway and grounds division. That's we're a staff of, there's a staff of 5 within the highway and grounds division that maintains over 90 miles of roadway. We have 25 miles of sidewalk, and that's inclusive of annual sweeping, line painting, roadside mowing, drainage. We have 1,750 catch basins and manholes that we clean, rebuild, monitor continually for blockages, things like that, because if that system's not functioning properly, it creates backups, and those create safety issues. Those also create issues within your home sometimes. You know, a lot of people in East Bridgewater discharge their water. If that water is restricted, then it will create an issue in your residence, so. But obviously, that's the core responsibility of Public Works, is to maintain safe, travelable public ways for our, not only our motoring public, but our pedestrians and, you know, all individuals that have to use that for commerce and work and things like that. That's the primary role of any highway department. And over the last, since 2003, we've invested more than $15 million in our public ways, utilizing Chapter 90 funds, which is the state funds we get from your taxes for your excise and things like that, all go towards your Chapter 90 dollars, which the town receives reimbursement from. That's utilizing, when we do, a bit later, we'll get into our water service, our water department. And when we've done water main improvements, significant water infrastructure improvements, we actually recognize the impact that has to the roadway. After you put a new water main down and you make all the cross connections and things like that. So we've restored, when we do a water main improvement project, we actually restore the roadway as well. And that's part of, and that's funded through water enterprise revenue, so that offsets even a little bit more of some of the costs that would typically fall on general government to do. And the primary driver for the road improvements has been the capital stabilization fund. And for the last more than 5 years now, capital planning, FinCom, and eventually town meeting has voted to fund that in excess of $500,000.
Yeah.
So we've really been doing close to $1 million of roadway, sidewalk, drainage and improvements.
You can see the difference
Absolutely,
around the
Oh,
town.
yeah.
absolutely.
I think mine was done, what, like 3 years ago now,
Mhm.
maybe? And it was the first time, I think, almost in my life.
Some of these roads that we've been able to address haven't been paved in 40 years.
Yeah.
And we're
And adding
actually,
the sidewalks is huge
it's huge,
for the kids to
It's-
ride bikes, and
incredibly expensive. You know, we would love to.
sidewalks are more expensive than anything.
Sidewalks out. It's more expensive to put in a quarter mile of sidewalk than it is to pave a mile of road.
It's 'cause
for a
of the-
number of reasons.
Where the barrier,
Well, granite curbing adds
Yeah.
to, but in my opinion, granite curbing in most places is a necessity now because it creates a physical barrier between the vehicle. And the road.
person on
You know, there's sections, say, of like Central Street where you have a wide enough setback for the sidewalk, but there's other areas where, in the downtown and some roads like that, where you need that vertical barrier because, sad to say, people think it's just an extension of the road to go around the car that's slowing down in
Right.
front of you. So we've made a real effort to do that and it improves the walkability of the community, it improves your community as a whole, the aesthetics. It has values that are difficult to put a dollar value on, the intrinsic values. You know, if your community's walkable, it's one of the things that they look at. In your, you know, if you go on Zillow, it'll rate the walkability of your neighborhood. It adds to the value of your
Yeah.
home. We have over 1 million square yards of pavement. I relate everything to square yardages. That's how we break down the cost to do everything. Town has over 1 million square yards of that, of pavement, and since 2003, we've addressed almost 900,000 square yards. It's had some method of pavement preservation, whether it be a full reconstruction of a road, but now we're actually moving to a point where we can use pavement preservation, and we can maintain roads, and I refer to that as like, the difference between that is, reframing your house or painting your house. It literally comes down to simple things like that. You know, for us to do pavement preservation, to keep a road in good shape, and when I think about good shape, that means it's you know, if you use a scale of 1 to 100, a road in good shape is somewhere between 75 and 100, 100 being perfect, like the day you pave it. We can use pavement preservation methods and spend between $4 and $7 a square yard to keep that road viable for 8 to 10 to 12 years. Flip side,
good time.
it's between $15 and $25 per square yard if we let a road deteriorate and have to rebuild it, or not, add drainage and things like that. So if whatever we can do to preserve the investment we've already made, then that's what we're at a point now where we're seeing the shift, where we're doing a lot more pavement preservation, and we can do, again, 4 times as much almost preservation as reconstruction, rehabilitation. And it's a really good feeling, and that has led to, that investment has actually led to the new focus, or relatively new focus, that we've been able to make within Public Works to public grounds and public spaces. And I think all of us would agree now that where do we spend our passive recreation time? It's in our public spaces, it's our athletic facilities, it's a community centers, town common. It's always been, you know, through the history of New England that, you know, you'd congregate on the town common, but now, you know, parents and grandparents and kids it's nothing to look back on a week and say, we spent 16 hours at a soccer field, or we spent 9 hours this week at the baseball complex, and that's where we spend our outside time. So the community's been supportive, and we've made a massive investment over the last, again, since probably 1999, of recognizing that and really focusing on improving those spaces and making those places not only places that our kids are proud to be and proud to, you know, have, but there's no better feeling than when you bring, you know, friends and, oh, even better, I like it when you hear the competing town come in for a travel game or something like that, and they go, wow, why can't we have facilities like this in our town? You know? But so we have a staff of 4 that really maintains over 50 acres of actively used recreational space, including all of the school grounds. I don't think a lot of people understand that Public Works, for the last 4 years, has maintained all of the school grounds, all the new fields that were constructed.
Is About like walkways in the schools, like
Yes.
everything outside the school?
Everything outside the school is maintained by our Highway and Grounds Division employees, as well as the Belmont Street Soccer Complex, Church Street Little League Complex, the community center, Town Common, even the stadium, the synthetic turf at the stadium. You know, our public works employees maintain, you know, we probably have, well, we have 4, sometimes 5 or 6. Well, one of the benefits we have now is I can take all of the members of the Highway and Grounds, and when it snows, we all go to work there. When, you know, April vacation, all 9, 10 guys go to the schools, and we'll be focused on the schools, because that's an opportunity that we can get in to clean up the schools for the winter and mulch everything and get the fields prepped and things like that. We do all, Public Works does all that. And myself and our employees in Public Works take a lot of pride in that. It's really,
Well, they look good.
and we're very proud of it, and a lot of us have kids that either have played there, or play there, or will be there, and it's a great feeling. Another thing I don't wanna be remiss in is the town has been very fortunate to have and have funded a real tree department for years and years. And one of the places where that came to real fruition and evidence was last year in late March, late March, when we had those damaging, extremely damaging wind, you know, that first weekend the windstorm came through. That was, I've now been here for 23 years, and blizzards, snowstorms, I've never seen a storm that was as devastating tree-wise and damage as that. And but we're recognized around other communities that we have resources that most communities don't, and not only the equipment that we've invested in, but more so the personnel that we have and their capabilities. And because of that, we had 50 utility contractors here that went to work immediately because our tree crews were able to go out and work with National Grid. And it's not an exaggeration, but it's something I'm really proud of. Because of that, we were able to get power back on Central Street probably 2 days before it would have been restored. It was our crews that were literally trimming the trees off the lines. Because not only did I have that faith, and then National Grid had that much faith in the crews we had here to do that. We didn't have to wait for contracted crews. It doesn't happen often, it does, thankfully. It's not an everyday thing, but it sure makes a difference when, you know, people have their power back on in, you know, early March, and the temperatures in homes are starting to drop 40, you know, 40 to 50
The
degrees
crews from
inside.
the tree departments, do they do crossover into other,
Yes,
like, as needed?
so they are part of that 4.
Okay,
There's 9 guys
yeah,
on the Highway and Grounds Division
Right.
that do all the street work, all the grounds, all the tree work throughout the year. So, you know, we've got 90+ miles of roadway, double that now on each side. You've got 180 lane miles, you've got 180 miles of streets with street trees. You've got, and again, those are the same guys that are out. They may be taking down a tree today, working on a drainage project on, you know, Wednesday and Thursday, and on Friday, you know, mowing ball fields, prepping baseball fields for the weekend, or a tournament, you know. Again, we work really closely with the athletic department, because one of the things that they struggle with, the athletic director at the high school, is you get 2 days of rain in the spring. Well, he had 3 games scheduled for those 2 days. Now, all of a sudden, he's got to schedule, he's got to make all those games up. And it's imperative that the fields be, you know, ready. So we work really closely with the A.D. Smith at the school to try to accommodate their schedule. And because we have some flexibility internally, we can say, okay, well, we have this project scheduled, but we need to move 2 more guys back to the high school so that they can prep the other 2 fields, so that those kids can get those games in. That, we have that kind of commitment to the kids, you know, because we all recognize what it does when your game schedule gets backed up and it's messed up, and we don't want it to be that our fields aren't ready, that we have to forfeit. Same goes for snow and ice removal. Previous to, being in the position of DPW director and highway superintendent, it used to be the schools were always done after we were done plowing the streets. We've changed that methodology. We actually have equipment at the schools all the time, from as soon as it starts to snow, we have equipment there. It's actually our biggest equipment, because just of the sheer acreage of parking lots at the school departments, that it's never gonna, school's not gonna be canceled because the parking lot's not open.
Right.
It doesn't happen. The
Kids curse you.
they do, my own particularly. But again, it's that kind of recognition, it's that partnership, it's an understanding of what a school day, no school day has an impact on everyone now. You know, it's not like before when a no school day meant, you know, everybody could sleep in and, yeah, it has a significant impact financially, operationally on everyone, so. Not to say there won't be days that, you know, the way the storm may come through, that it's just not safe for traffic and buses and children to be out. But we, even as far as sidewalk maintenance goes, we now have set up operationally that as soon as we transition from being done plowing snow and we go back to clearing back intersections and things like that, we put out 2 units to clear sidewalks. So again, so that, you know, although it's relatively limited, those kids that are walkers and things can get to school safely in the morning. And we've made a commitment that no matter what, we'll have the sidewalks open within 24 hours within the school zone after the event. Typically, we can do it in 8, you know. You alleviate to accident response, accident recovery. We've done, it's I wouldn't say not unusual, I should say it's typical for DPW resources to be called on to assist other public safety departments, whether it be detouring roads for accidents, again, house fires. If a house fire comes in, we automatically send water department employees there, just to make sure the hydrants are functioning operationally. We know how much flow they're pulling, so that we can turn pumps on, so that we can supply, you know, make sure that our wells are pumping in case there's additional demand, make sure the tank's filling, because that's how the pressure in the system is regulated. We really do work as a partnership like that. And we understand what their needs are, and we can work with them back and forth and say, you know, stop pulling from this line, go to this hydrant line, because that's got a different source. You can get your water pressure, you know. For them, it's not as much pressure, but it's flow, it's volume. They need a lot of water, kind of, so. Our guys have that expertise, our water superintendent, our foreman, we've got a lot of historical knowledge. We've even, on occasion, done hazardous material removal. There was some ordinances once that needed to be transported. Public Works ended up transporting them because, you know, we have dump trucks and things like that. Whoever would have thought you'd be moving ordinance, but it's how we work together. Another area we're able to support and offset some costs is within the community is assisting with capital projects. A lot of the exterior work here in the town hall, our DPW employees did that work. We worked in partnership with a contractor, but we were able to do the outside. We did all the planting, we removed all the sidewalk, the walkway in when that was renovated, do things like that. And again, so there's capital dollars that are appropriated, but if we can save a few capital dollars, it makes those other, you know, go farther. Same as building if you've been down to Church Street, there's it had to become a safety concern with a snack bar, which was built in 1988, I think. A retaining wall that was failing, but we got capital dollars to restore that, and we're able, you know, utilizing our resources, we're able to rebuild that wall, and, you know, not only is it's safe, it's aesthetically pleasing, it's created more seating area for, you know, people who appreciate and be able to enjoy the game closer, and it's done. In many of our lifetimes, you'll never have to go back to that wall. That all said, I'll get to the, you know, why we so essentially, we are proposing, working within the town administrator's directive. What you'll see before you is a proposed FY 2020 2% budget. Can go line item by line item, we can, essentially, what the first slide here shows our personnel services. Majority of them are contractually obligated. We are in my labor's contract expires in June. But what I've done is I've anticipated a contractual increase into
Okay.
that number. So I've taken what they've received for the last 5 years on average, and I built that number in to anticipate what we're assuming will be a reasonable number. And so that number's reflective of that.
And was that around 2? I mean, is that?
2% is what I would anticipate. That's what it's been on average for the last
Okay.
5 years, so.
Yeah. Which
that's-
makes sense in the real world.
Yeah, so that's the number I'm carrying forward, is a 2% increase. That, if the members that are here recall from last year, we actually, overall budget, the directive last year was a 1.5% increase. We had actually initially proposed, our budget came in at like a 1.41.
Yeah, it was a little.
But it represented a reduction of our seasonal staff. Now, our seasonal staff are seasonal, but we've got, think about just how many miles of chain link fence there are that we weed whack on a regular basis and things like that. So those seasonal employees really have a benefit. In discussions with the finance committee last year, it was said, you know, it was determined, well, why don't we make that adjustment, because it still would have brought us over to 1.5. There was some, well, for one reason or another, that adjustment was never made to the FY 2020, FY 19 budget.
Okay.
So that actually puts us about $12,000 behind where our budget should have been. So that, as we go through, you'll see why there's a number of areas we've had to make line item reductions to stay in that 2%.
Okay.
So this year's represents the contractual obligation, but it also represents an elimination of those seasonal employees. We won't be able to hire them. Also, to stay within the 2%, we've had to reduce our overtime expenditures. Overtime is always one of those things where you don't know exactly what that number's gonna come in, but over the last few years, we've been able to, because we have been able to increase our overtime expense, assist more in community events, parades, things like that, which takes some of the burden off the police department as far as setting up detours, signage, things like that. Again, those are things we're gonna have to cut back on. We may not be able to assist
Okay.
with those services. General expenses, we've had an increase in our off-duty details, year to year. To be honest, we have already expended fully the amount of money we allocated for details, and we're only in January.
Okay.
But we need to recognize that every year those costs increase contractually, plus the fact that as we do more work on the streets, and as we,
So you could just do some transfers from other accounts to cover?
so what we typically do is we will continue to run the line item into the negative, because I like to see exactly
Where you're at at the
where we are at the end, but we wanted the bottom line general expense, so we'll offset that and we'll just watch. But that's an area where details are really not an option anymore. It's become the roads are so busy, it's imperative, it's my responsibility to make sure that, you know, my crews that are out there are protected. And honestly, with distracted drivers and things like that. We need that extra set of eyes on the road. My crew is concentrated on the job at hand. They can't be worrying about traffic. So more and more, it's imperative that we have, police there used to be streets that, 20 years ago, when I started, you could be on Crescent Street, and you would see 7 or 8 cars for the whole time you're out there. Now, Crescent Street's become a main road. It's not an option of whether or not you work on that street with traffic control.
What would you think your real need there is? I'm guessing over 22 if you said you were.
Probably closer to 30. And that's what we spend within our own budget. So all of the capital work we do, the police details are on top of that. So if you figure every year, about 10% of our costs are police details, just traffic control on top of, whatever the number may be to pave that street or whatever, we build in 10% more for traffic control. Same with waterworks projects and things like that. So within our budget, you'll also see, we have a line item in waterworks, in the water operations for traffic control off-duty details as well. That number can be a little more variable because it's somewhat based on water leaks, main breaks, things like that. Not as much on, because with the main replacement work we've done, we're not doing as much scheduled maintenance in the road. We don't have, so that number varies a little bit more. We've had to increase our road maintenance line item up to 52,000. That really is representative of, we've seen in the last year a significant increase in material costs. Concrete, asphalt, a lot of the things that we utilize have been affected by the trade war, the tariffs and things. Steel, for castings, aggregate prices, things like that. So we're seeing, those had held pretty steady for 5 or so years. But and we bid everything out through a consortium bid, but we've seen a real significant increase in that cost. So essentially road maintenance covers material costs that we do operationally in-house. If we do a drainage improvement project or replace a catch basin or aggregate material for rebuilding a road, edge of a road or somebody's driveway, asphalt, pothole patching, things like that. We've had to make a reduction in our lines and signs, a sign line item to, again, compensate for that differentiation between a shortfall essentially to meet the 2% cap.
Okay.
That will mean less street signs and things that are replaced. We're working on a capital budget to try and we've identified all of our street signs and located them, utilizing GPS. So we have an inventory of them, and now we're working to upgrade and replace those. Another thing we do is every time we repave a street or we do a capital project on the street, we build into that the cost to replace all the signage. So we can
That's a good
offset
idea.
some of those costs from the day-to-day annual maintenance budget. And then, again, to meet our 2% cap, we've reduced, or in essence, we've eliminated our tree planting program for this year, which is too bad. We actually had really just started to build that back up. We have 60 people on the waiting list right now that are interested in having a new shade tree planted in front of their home, and it won't be.
Do you know if there are any outstanding grants or any kind of programs that maybe?
There's very little grant opportunity for, unlike police and fire, there are not a lot of grant opportunities for, a lot of what I guess would be the feel-good things, all of the things environmentally at the federal level, drying up, the funding is being eliminated, never mind reduced, so, US Forest Service, where a lot of those grants and things would develop from, HUD, all of those replanting, regrowth, things like that. those grants are not available right now.
And those were like basic, like, or, they weren't like saplings, those were like, good sturdy.
Correct.
Started
Correct.
trees and then.
It's about, we typically will plant out a tree that's 2 to 3 inches in caliper, and those trees are somewhere between $200 and $300 each. That's just to purchase them, and our labor, our forces will plant them. We'd hope to get to a point where we were replanting at least half as many trees as we take down every year. On average, we take down about 50 to 70 trees, roadside street trees a year. We were hoping to get to 25 to 30 that we were replanting every year, just for feel better when you lay your head on the table that you're making a positive impact.
You can take my tree down and put in my yard anytime.
That's what everybody,
I said, don't
More
let my
often
husband,
than-
he like, if I'm not around, he's gonna chuck everything down.
more often than not, that seems to be people's will. And it's understandable, but also when you look at photos, older photos of the town, what an impact it made to have tree-lined streets. And
Yeah.
you talk about communities and the benefits to overall communities, and you look at different other communities in the area which may or may not have, a higher property value or things like that, or livability. They have mature, established tree canopies, and the streets are tree-lined. It makes a difference when you drive into a town and the way you feel when you're on that street. It's part of the whole experience. Public Works also has the municipal fleet division, so we maintain not only the 50-plus Public Works vehicles, we also maintain and have for probably the last 7 to 9 years the fire department vehicles. And since Chief Allen has been in position, we now maintain the police department cruisers as well. We have 2 full-time.
That's worked out great.
It has, for him, I think.
I
it's
remember when
been-
you were looking to hire.
Yeah, and we have 2 full-time ASC certified mechanics, who are also masters of all trades. They can do essentially everything. There are things that we still found out, warranty work, obviously, why would we utilize our labor and staff when warranty work can do it, but, fleet mechanic foreman, fleet maintenance foreman has a computer program where he tracks that information, and then can have maintenance records, vehicle logs for all work done, every unit that the town has. We also maintain the council on aging vans and all of the school department equipment. They have a number of small vehicles and transport truck and things, we maintain that. All of their small pieces of equipment, things like that, those come over to us too
What
as
about
well.
EV Cam?
No, not to this point. They have a brand new
They have
unit, that mobile van. I don't know how that, in my experience, they've never approached us, and I've never heard of that.
We do that ourselves. We
So-
take care of that ourselves.
You maintain it yourself, or you have a contract with somebody?
Yeah, we go to different places and.
Yep. So, yeah, they don't fall under the municipal fleet, so. If there was a need, obviously, but, and I can't say enough about, 2 mechanics.
Yeah, they're great.
They're great,
That's what
and
I always hear.
not only are they well-trained and up to speed on, the 2018 Interceptor Cruiser that just come in and needs to, has full diagnostics, and essentially the sensor, has sensors for everything now on the new vehicles,
Yeah.
because the gas cap wasn't put on properly. Or because you fill,
You laugh.
well, no,
That's
Yeah.
happening.
it actually does happen,
And then you
and
get
that,
lights flash.
and
then
lights
you're
flash,
like,
and the only
"What?"
way to take care of that is it pops a code. And now, our mechanics are able to do that, otherwise that would have to go back to the shop. That's police officers transporting it back and forth, that's labor, that's a cruiser off the road. They can take care of that. But the other thing they do is at 2 o'clock in the morning, they'll slide underneath a 40,000-pound truck that's covered in snow and ice and salt and grit, and replace a hydraulic hose that's blown, and get that truck back on the street to plow snow. There's very few people in the world that are willing to do that,
Right.
you know, and they do that on a regular basis, more times than I wish throughout the winter and throughout the, you know, or on the side of the road in August, when a truck's blowing a tire and it's 95 degrees and it's got hot asphalt mix on it. Those are the guys that are underneath that truck, you know, getting it back on the street. So, again, I can't recognize them enough and what they saved, not only operationally, but financially, the town. So, again, in the, maintaining the 2% directive, the only increase to their line item is contractual obligation with their salaries. Fleet maintenance, facilities maintenance is a relatively new division to the town of East Bridgewater. We've had it since, I believe, 2013, when the new high school was built. The town developed a facilities maintenance division. We have one facilities manager who oversees all of the town and municipal and school buildings. There's over 1 million square feet of municipal and school buildings that he's responsible for. And under him is one full-time maintenance technician who does, again, all of the preventative maintenance, so it's not under warranty work at the schools. Again, the work here, anytime there's a door latch or a baluster or that needs to be replaced, it's our facilities maintenance people that are doing that. We still have to contract out plumbing, electrical work, things like that, but he's utilized constantly within the police department. I think Tim would speak to him, the benefit that he's been on capital project, all the work that we've done in all the different buildings over the last few years, with upgrades at the fire department, upgrades in the police station. The facilities manager, Brian Kiley, was integral and was really in restoring the town hall. Everything from interior to exterior, it's all been restored. And then day in, day out, he's at the schools, constantly at the school departments. Probably, and again, of the 1 million square feet, they're probably 500,000 square feet of that million, if not maybe 700,000. He spends 60 to 70% of his time working there. And so that partnership, and that's what it was intended to
Does he
do.
work with the custodians too?
Yes, so Public Works.
Because I know they didn't take them over, you guys didn't take them over.
Correct. Their funding remains in the school budget.
Yeah.
But contractually, they report to the facilities manager. So the facilities manager is responsible for setting their schedule, setting the standards of, care, maintenance within the buildings, any issues that develop within the schools, or concerns that are brought forward from residents or parents or teachers, go directly to DPW, to Brian, who deals with them. Like the outbreak there in the central school, or the high school a few months ago, the hand, foot, and mouth. Brian was integral in responding to that, dealing with that, or the desanitation, and utilizing, the custodial staff is great. Those guys are fantastic, really step up. I think people, if you go into the middle school now, I've heard it more than once, walk into middle school today versus 5 years ago, and see the difference in the building. And I would say that's a direct reflection of what is a focus on facilities maintenance in the buildings. I think you'd see that in every, whether it be a town building, a school building, having that focus on the maintenance of the building versus when all of us were responsible, it was another thing we were just responsible for. It wasn't our focus, and now it is, and You know, I
Nice.
think at one point there was a question of whether or not, does the town need a facilities manager? Now I think you turn around and would say, what would the town do without a facilities manager?
Well, and it's that preventative that you were talking about in your whole presentation, you know, it costs less money to be
Preventative.
preventative
Right.
than it is to deal with the catastrophe.
And to the point that we now, catastrophes happen. But we have systems in place and responses in place too for when those catastrophes do happen,
And the right people with the right skill sets. to handle
absolutely,
them.
to address them. So again, recognizing, going back to the 2%, the facilities maintenance division is, their budget is within the 2% directive. We have some contractual obligations. You'll see what may appear odd, a reduction in the labor salary from last year to this. That actually, because we had a seasonal employee budgeted there previously, but we don't have enough to cover that seasonal employee with a 2%. For next year, I've eliminated the position entirely. It was referred to earlier, during Chief Harron's presentation about the fact that the town is now an OSHA, state. In that, we're looking at the fact that, and it's really a requirement within OSHA that we have some controls and some means over, safety program. And, looking at identifying, a safety coordinator to oversee all aspects of the OSHA compliance within the municipal side and school, you know, all those areas that would have a focus on some of that OSHA compliance. Be trained to be an OSHA investigator, you know, because, I shouldn't say an OSHA investigator, but a accident investigator for the town when we have an OSHA or an accident or incident, can actually move forward and do the proper investigation of the accident, documentation, things like that. So we're looking at creating and that would be a stipend position that someone would receive to do that.
Someone that currently works for you, you
Yes.
build in a stipend somehow?
Yep.
Okay.
That's the thought process. It's in discussions right now, but I wanted to, I can plan for it.
And did go to training for that, of what forms to
Ongoing
fill
training.
out,
We're
having
actually
to
working
do
with a
different
consulting
types?
firm, in developing a safety, it's referred to a safety net program. They work with municipalities all over New England, actually, and, not only will they come in and do the training and train the trainer, you know, that one of those trainer
Mhm.
programs, but they'll also, it has a, web-based module where all of our documentation and such will be stored, and they will keep it up to date and accurate for us.
Mhm.
So in the event that we do have a significant incident or accident, all of that documentation, which is really what OSHA and Department of Labor and Department of Public Safety wanna see, they wanna see that we, because there's two components to OSHA, there's the employer's responsibility, but there's also the employee's responsibility. They wanna see that the
They do a good
employer
job.
is trying to create the safest work environment we can do in providing training to our employees and keeping them safe. Because nobody wants to see an injured employee.
Right.
You know, for all the reasons we can all talk about ad nauseam. So we'll have that program in place, so in the event, you know, all this documentation automatically, and with this particular program, OSHA's familiar with it, as well as the Department of Public Safety, so they're gonna have a comfort level knowing that we're working with this firm. And then we'll be able to have a direct point of contact within the town to assume the intermediary role there. There were some slight increases, particularly contractual for this, the town utilizes contracted services for a few different things, like, custodial cleaning within the municipal buildings. We contract those services out. Police, fire maintains their own, but, town hall and such. So there's some contractual increases there. you know, we're anticipating some increase in heating and oil, gas use, you know, all, and those, that line item, say like with heating and oil and gas is cumulative for the whole town. So facilities is responsible for the utility expenses for all the municipal buildings. Several years ago, we consolidated, we took those line items out of each of the municipal, you know, fires budgets, police budget, DPW, and put them on, under facilities, so that they were, and we work with a contractor who constantly monitors those to make sure we lock in at the best rate, at the best time, and it is looking at them all the time, as well as Brian, the facilities manager. They meet at least quarterly, if not sometimes monthly, to make adjustments to that, to make sure we're getting the best BTU rated, you know, and electrical kilowatts, and, you know, that's, to me, that's big magic. And Brian has a really good handle on it. I wish I could
So
get
you
that
said
handle
this
at my
covers
house.
all municipal, every single building,
Correct.
all included.
For
So the school's
municipal.
wrapped in there as well.
The schools, so what we do, in 2015 or 16, I can't remember off the top of my head, the school facility expenses
You broke them out,
were broken out and identified, and now
right.
fall under the DPW Facilities Maintenance Division.
So it's separate, it's like a separate grouping so that it's easily kept track of.
It's easily kept track of, and that way, for Chapter 70 and
Yeah,
benefit and things like that, the business manager can look at exactly what, you know, when he's putting together the Chapter 70 calculations, he can look and say, okay, well, it's not in our budget, it's not a school department expense, but it's an expense related to the school. So you'll see from that point, $635,000 of that, you know, $1 million facilities budget is directly related to school expense. From, again, that's where you'll see like the school's heating, is broken out there, custodial supplies, uniforms. So again, although we're not, the custodians are not DPW employees, we're responsible for even right down to their uniforms. We pay for their uniforms, we pay for, you know, their boots, and, you know, that comes out of our budget.
why?
It was transferred, that was what was decided to do that.
Just kind of with the creation of the facilities.
To I think just to centralize the management of it.
But you didn't take over their salaries or anything, but
No,
you're
that
doing
remained.
everything but the
Yeah,
salaries.
that remained,
Why wouldn't those move as well? I think we talked about that a few times. Has there been any more movement on moving the
no,
custodians over?
not to, hasn't been brought to my attention. Then, again, I alluded to it earlier, the municipal sewer division is a new division within Public Works. It was actually always identified when the town went to the creation of a Public Works Department in 2006. They identified that they wanted, eventually, if we ever did have sewage, it would be under Public Works. But it actually was an act of town meeting last year, and home rule petition that was signed by the legislature that actually made this official. It was always the intention and the discussion of how it would transfer, but now it's actually taking place. That we've created a downtown district in a sense. That phase one was the extension from the back of the central high school up to Spring Street. There's opportunity for multiple more phases in the future, but currently, right now, so the Board of Health always administered that. The Board of Health holds the discharge permit, although, to be honest, the only real flow from that is the school. The schools are utilizing that wastewater treatment.
That was
plant,
my
which-
next question. I didn't know, how come, was this just all basically school? Because I was wondering why it wasn't included in. Yeah.
Correct, it can't be an enterprise fund because there's no revenue at this point.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean enterprise fund, I meant your school, breakout
Um,
of electricity, heating, oil, building projects, things like that.
the long-term plan is that
It wouldn't
as the
be just.
district, as the district develops,
Yeah,
the operational costs would be offset
okay,
by revenues. And then we'll look at creation of that and treating that like an enterprise account, so it wouldn't be that it's just the school, it's at the
so
central
you
school
were
and the high
able to
school.
pull
that-
this out, I guess, for their information for their, their
Yes,
school
so
reporting?
what Public Works does every year is actually submits to the business manager and well, the school committee through the business manager
Mhm.
is a report of everything that we, it's not in their
And
budget,
does
but
it
that
include
is,
this?
it will moving forward. I don't know if Board of Health has done it in the past, but
Right, cause you
probably
took it over
should.
from them, we had talked about that last night, actually.
this will be the first year that it'll fall into Public Works.
Okay.
So that cost, which is a deferred cost, I guess would be, it's the same as when we, we keep track of how much time and material we spend removing snow, how much time and material we spend mowing the grass,
Right.
and we calculate a figure for that, which we then provide to the business administrator who can use that towards his chapter 70 reimbursement.
So it says 2 part-time operators here for that? So this isn't being maintained by Bob and Jason?
Those are our 2 part-time operators.
Is it, so their stipends are, and their certifications?
Yep, I wouldn't,
Cause you know how
it's a salary, so they receive a
Okay.
portion of their pay,
Mhm.
a portion of their weekly pay is reflective
this,
of
okay.
that. So they work there, and then we also have, because of the transition, we have a firm that we're contracted with, who do this,
Clear
Clear,
water, clear.
this clear waters. Like there's a white water, the clear water, there's a whole bunch of different water, so wanna make sure I use the right terminology. But we contract with them too, for compliance reasons.
Okay.
Obviously, although our water superintendent, Jason, ran a multi-million gallon per day system in Indiana,
Right.
his license wasn't reciprocal to Massachusetts, so his full operator's license is still in training. So we wanted to make sure
Right.
that we have, that we're compliant with all the DEP regulations and things like that, so we contract professional services. You'll see that professional services line item drop significantly though, when we brought on our part-time operator.
Right.
So
Cause
they're,
they've done the training.
yeah, so they're still, they were existing employees of the town,
Yep.
but so there were no additional health benefits or costs or anything like that to do this. So those are, and again, that, at this point, that sewer division is a general expense, with the hope of, as we build out the system,
Right.
which would not only lead to offsetting our operational costs, we'll have significant economic incentive for the community, and we'll see, revitalization of downtown. I think probably the majority of people in town are aware of the significant changes that the solid waste program underwent this year.
Mhm.
I think it's the feedback we've gotten in that, it's been very positive. I think most people are very happy with it, and the people that opted out chose not to participate, so it's pretty clean, it's about as clean as you can get.
Yep.
At this point, we're servicing nearly 2,800 households.
Is that more than the year before, I guess the year before?
That, it's impossible to know. That was really the big X factor, and I think I referred to that probably 3 or 4 times last year as we were making presentations, the X factor of this. Because of the way the program was run, we sold yellow bags.
Right, so you can't
We
tell.
had no
Yeah,
idea
You're right.
how many people were actually utilizing the yellow bags. We had an idea how many people were utilizing the recycling program, which was about 2,800. But we had no idea how many people were putting out yellow trash bags. And it made it very, very
Yeah, you can't.
challenging
Yeah.
to develop actual costs and revenue projections. Now we have a We have
Right,
users,
'cause you-
so
well,
we
you
know
have
exactly how many
actual
accounts we
numbers.
have. So we know we have almost 2,800, which is where we projected. I had hoped that we might have a few more, but there was some negotiations that went on, for a while, that had an impact on how many total units we ended up with.
Yep.
Essentially, the adult retirement communities chose to go with their
Their
own
own.
private haulers. So that had an impact in our projected revenues. And one of the other things that I think you may or may not be aware of is there's been an entire upside down of the recycling, value of recyclables, managing recyclables across the nation.
Yeah,
And it's
the one,
the,
one
the
stop.
point of the tip of the spear
yeah,
initiative in China, which has actually been going on for like 5 or 7 years, they just weren't enforcing. Relations have broken down and now they're enforcing it. But they want less than 1% contamination. At the same time, they want less than 1%. The whole push has been to go to single stream,
yeah. that's
making
what
it
I was gonna
simpler for the
say.
resident to
Single stream.
dispose of in hopes of getting your recycling tonnage up, diverting waste from your waste stream, which is a great incentive. But we've all gotten very lazy about what we put in the recycling. It's like wishful recycling, a lot of times people refer to it. It's not recyclable, but you think it is. You throw that, you don't wanna take the time to clean out your peanut butter jar, but you still throw it in the recycling anyway. Well, that contaminates the whole
Right.
unit. It used to be that white paper had a lot of value, because all of us as residents would sort it out and neatly put it in a separate
Yeah,
container of
like
white paper.
newspapers and-
Well, we don't do that any longer, it all goes in, and then when you put that Italian dressing jar that you didn't rinse out and drips all over that, that's contaminated, that's
Right.
waste now. So the cost has gone up exponentially, essentially from December, when December of 17, when I originally proposed the program in totality to the Board of Selectmen, we were locking at a $35 per ton rate. When we finally had full sign off by the board in March, it was market value, which is $85 per ton. So we pay more to get rid of our recycling than we do our trash. Right now, we pay $69 per ton to get rid of your trash and your blue bin with the yellow cover versus recyclables, which is market, which last month was $85. I just heard the city of Taunton is paying $150 a ton to dispose of their recycling.
And most of the recycling's not even good.
Correct. The level of contamination in the recycling.
So can we get that out there again, I guess?
Well, what I'm telling everyone, when in doubt, throw it out. So if you question whether or not it's recyclable, throw it out. Because more than likely, it's gonna get thrown out.
Like
when it
pizza
gets to
boxes, don't recycle them, come on.
Correct.
I know.
Right. You think so, that's the wishful
I
recycling.
know.
You know, oh, well, it's got the wax paper,
Don't judge
the
me.
cardboard's still good. That's wishful recycling, and we all do it,
Yeah,
because,
Right.
but 25 years, it was recycle, 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 it's great.
right.
And there's still a market for certain things, but the problem is, when it all goes in that container, it all gets squished together,
The
because
single stream.
we dump it all in the big blue truck, and that blue truck has a compactor, compacts it all together, and now it goes
If
through.
you're doing it perfectly, your neighbor's not. then
Absolutely.
it doesn't
Right.
help.
So there's typically about 15 to 18% contamination in a load, and that's what they consider acceptable. You get over that, and single stream really has pushed it over that, so most loads are coming in at 25 to 30% contaminated.
We're paying more to get rid of that.
Right,
than
and
we're
there's no
proud
market
of it
for
as
it.
Are
trash.
towns starting to do any education or re-education
This is
or
like the
public
camera
service?
telling.
I know, I don't want public service to help,
Some,
because news to me, right?
there's still some resistance to, because recycling's still good. You know,
Right, don't wanna
But
stop.
the
Right.
best place to start recycling is figuring out whether you actually need it in the first place. So it's like reduce, reuse, recycle, it's the 3 R's, and it sounds corny, and it is,
Right.
but that's where, start thinking about your packaging when you buy stuff. You know, how much throwaway, how much, you know,
Amazon boxes alone.
yeah,
Mine.
but cardboard's good. Cardboard actually is, you know, as long as it's not contaminated.
Now, does East Bridgewater, I've honestly, I've never been to the dump, or is there any recycling there? Like, I grew up in Pembroke, you could go to the recycling center, you put your glass in one
Yes.
place, you put,
Yeah, the recycling center is,
they do have that, okay?
fully sorted, and you can bring in bulk items, bulk plastics, bulk cups, so if you get a TV in a box or whatever, you can take that box to the recycling center, rather than trying to break it up and cut it up and, you know, you get a new refrigerator. Collapse it and bring it up to the recycling center. Wood waste, materials like that, leaf, compost, I mean, fluorescent light bulbs, mattresses,
What about batteries?
batteries are,
Batteries
your
you can throw
typical
away now.
Duracell battery,
Yeah,
throw away.
okay.
It says right on it, it's non-recyclable, it's not hazardous. You get into lithium batteries, watch batteries, things like that, hold on to them and bring them to the hazardous waste day.
Yeah.
What
And
was it cost per ton for trash?
$69.70 per ton for trash, and it's market value, so it fluctuates. I think we paid $85 a ton last month to get rid of our recycling. It's a pass-through essentially for what it
Yep.
costs now.
Mind blowing to me right now.
And again, when you look at the operational budget, this is the enterprise account, so there's an expense, but we have an offset. So for several years, and I'm gonna have to go all the way back to, if you go back to the second page of the handout, you can see in 2018, we had a budget, and the budget is really a contractual obligation, because
Right.
we contract out our collection with Republic, our collection and our disposal with Republic Services. So we know that price is relatively fixed. The only thing that fluctuates there is how much trash we dispose of or recycling we dispose of every year, that's the fluctuation factor. It'll become painfully obvious when you look at the FY18 budget, what was the actual expended budget of $840,000, and we only brought in a revenue of $539,000. That's when we had to go back to town meeting, utilize almost $250,000 of free cash to cover that loss. Definitely, this doesn't work. It was non-sustainable, and
Right.
so we brought options to the community, and again, I think the Board of Selectmen and the community picked a good option. I really think this is a good, sustainable option, so we're looking at, this year's
Any
approved.
increases for next year?
No, my hope when we presented this was that we would be able to carry that cost for 3 years. That would be a set. So where I hope to see increased revenue is, I think the individuals with private haulers are gonna realize our program is not only a better program in general, we are gonna hold that cost. Whereas these other private contractors are not gonna be able to keep their disposal,
Well,
They
you still
can't be
keep
paying
the
less.
one item per week?
That was the commitment I kind of made to the community and the board, so we were gonna try to hold that cost for 3 years, assuming we didn't have some kind of huge, movement,
issue.
movement away. If we lost 400 or 500 or 600 customers, obviously that's gonna affect our revenue. But our budget for this year is $839,000, for all points, it's $840,000. We're anticipating generating 811. Now, is that ideal? No, but in that, we also need to consider that this cost covers all of our school and municipal waste disposal. So, that would probably be, just at the schools alone, would probably be a $50,000 a year cost. That they don't have to carry, that we carry, in this in here. It also covers all of the dumpsters at, every playground and, athletic complex. The trash and, recycling that's created in town hall, that's all, so there would be some incurred cost there anyway, so although my eventual intention is to see this as a cost neutral, hopefully, revenue producing is, every time we go, when we get to 2,900, 3,000 customers, all of a sudden, we're generating, more revenue and that we can use to either stabilize the program or provide more options. Does anybody have any particular questions? There were no real changes to that. Again, there's no full-time staff dedicated to the solid waste program. We have one clerical position where a percentage of that position's hours are covered from the solid waste program. A percentage of my salary, a percentage of the operations manager's salary are offset from that. And we have an $8,000 labor salary, which is essentially to maintaining the recycling center is it's an expense. It doesn't generate everything, it's just
It's not volunteer?
it utilizes senior work-off people, but it requires one of our staffers to be there when it's open. So obviously it's open on Saturdays, that's an overtime expense.
Yeah.
So that $8,000 covers that, overtime expense to have it open the 26 weeks, the Saturday, 26 weeks a year. So the first and third Saturday for anybody who wants.
Yep.
Do you accept TVs there?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm excited about the mattresses.
There's mattresses, because they got a grant, as they have to be dry and clean, and you have to be able to lift them out of your vehicle into the,
Now, I don't wanna poo-poo the opportunity because it was a great thing that we got the grant and everything, but you can, if you're in the curbside collection program, you can put your mattress at the curb
Incentive.
and it's collected free. It's
Really?
like, yeah, so you could do a
that
mattress.
was considered, that's what,
Because
no,
most privates won't
Won't
take
take-
a mattress.
Right, our program will.
really?
Yeah. And we would ask,
I love my neighbor.
we'd ask that, you put it out on a recycling week,
Yeah,
because strictly the fact that they have two people in town that week, so that
yeah,
because it's one guy, one truck.
right.
So for him to try to haul that mattress into his truck, and then next recycle week, put out your box spring. If you don't wanna have Jordans taken away, whatever. But, so it's a great thing to have that up there, but you're paying for it, utilize the service.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what I would tell residents.
And people can, is it sign up, I know when we did the initial sign up, it was July, can you opt in at any time?
Yes.
Or is it, oh, you
At
can?
this point now, we let people opt in at any time,
Oh, really?
and we prorate their bill from when they opted in. We've really been able to,
That's interesting.
yep,
And we can
For those
have
of us
two,
that might have missed the July deadline.
so we can have two recycle bins though, right?
you can,
Obviously, if we clean everything,
correct, if you recycle properly, we encourage you.
which we do at the other household. This I'm doing.
When I clean out my peanut butter jars, it's the pizza boxes I gotta work on.
Okay.
And final division of the 7 on the public works is our water division. That has a staff of 6 employees, full-time employees. That last year, we provided more than 350 million gallons of safe and clean drinking water to the 4,325 households and businesses in East Bridgewater. It's probably one of the things we most take for granted.
I know.
But if you wanna see community come to it, civilization come to its knees,
Oh, yeah.
stop the flow of water. And I would challenge any of us that, go to the store and spend hundreds of dollars a year on bottled water and things, to have their water tested against the water that we can produce here in East Bridgewater.
I just bought 3 cases.
Yep, it's a convenience, it's a total
And it's
convenience.
bad
And now
because
we recycle.
the whole plastic thing
Yeah,
is terrible.
80% of it never gets recycled.
Oh, you're breaking my heart.
80% of the water,
I
bottled
say
water,
burn it all.
never gets
Apparently
recycled.
you can't because of the atmosphere.
I say incineration, clean energy,
Yeah, see?
but DEP would not want this.
No.
Strike that from the record.
But yeah, so, you know, most people never see them, but we have two of these filtration plants that treat all 350 million gallons of water that we pump annually goes through the filtration plant.
No, that's
No, we actually have 5 wells, 2 filtration, treatment facilities that treat all of the water, monitor it, and send it out through a UV filter before it ever gets out into your system. Very proud of the investment and the team that we built.
for a while there, it was,
I absolutely do remember, that was the
it was
first,
hairy.
that was my first article I ever moved as
Mhm.
Public Works Director on town meeting floor, was $14.25 million to build the
Yeah.
green sand filtration plants. And, it's been very successful, thankfully, otherwise it probably would not have been here past 2010.
Well, you wouldn't be presenting.
Correct. And with that, we have about 150 miles of water main and water, you know, and then the 4,325 related water services that, you know, bring the water from your main to your house. We've got about 1,100 fire hydrants.
Oh, really? That many?
I always say there's only really 2 things that, you know, your residents see about your water system is the water that comes out of your tap and the fire hydrant in front of your house.
Yeah.
And so we've
Make
actually.
sure you shovel it out on snow days.
Correct. The fire department and you may be very appreciative of the fact that it was accessible if needed. Again, we utilized seasonal employees to do that hydrant maintenance, to go around and paint those hydrants and things like that. That's another area we utilize the seasonal employees, which, you know, with the 2% directive, you know, we won't have those seasonal employees anymore to do that work. So we'll continue on doing it, but obviously at a much delayed rate, because we could assign them just to do that. That was all they had to do from 7 AM to 3 PM was go out and paint hydrants, and the one seasonal employee was able to paint 250 of them this summer. So. With that, you know, we also have a highly trained crew that gets out there and recognizes, you know, what an impact it has on you and in the community when you don't have that fresh, clean drinking water at your faucet. You know, your homes come to a stop when there's no water. So, again, they act quickly to restore and recognizing too that we have an aging infrastructure. Even, you know, we made a huge investment financially into replacing 6 miles of our 150 miles of water main. You know, that was $6 million, you know. It just gets old, it's old the day it goes in, essentially, it never gets better.
When a water main breaks, what do you do to, I guess, bring it up to code or up to speed to,
Well,
so where,
when you have a water main break, per se, essentially, your priority at that point is to identify the break, locate it,
yeah,
because
narrow it
more
down.
often than not, the water main is bubbling, the water's bubbling up over here, and the break is,
Yeah.
25 feet away. So you have to locate that, excavate down, get the water turned off, and then you literally replace the section of pipe that broke, whether that be a 3-foot section or a
Yeah.
30-foot section.
whatever
You're
it is,
really
that's
just,
what
you're just focusing on
Okay,
replacing the piece that's damaged and broke and restoring the water.
so
to
you're
the
not
reservoir.
replacing from here to here?
No, that doesn't happen in that, like that. When we replace from here to here, that's a capital project.
Okay,
That's a planned event
okay,
that's budgeted for and
Makes
and
sense.
capital, and we have a 15-year capital plan that the water department and DPW has created. We actually had a 15-year plan when I started in 2004, and we saw a lot of that through. We followed that plan, creation of, eliminate the iron and manganese issue, E2 water filtration treatment plants, upgrade the cast iron water main, hydraulic modeling, have our tank, line and work done. We followed that, and it worked really well. We now have gone through a 2-year process of creating a new capital plan that'll take us out another 15 years. And we've got cost values associated with that, and we can build, and we have built a capital plan moving forward that lines up with our anticipated revenues, operational increases, and capital expenditures. It's all been built. It's essentially a roadmap. It's a master plan for your water system, whether I'm the one doing it or anybody else.
Yep.
If you follow that plan, you will have a sound water system moving forward for the next 25 years.
So quick question on the, one of the line items
Yes.
in the water division. I noticed it says uniform rentals. What would that pertain to?
Some of the line items descriptions are not entirely as accurate as I would like them to be,
Okay.
but are based on
Whatever.
the software program
Okay.
and whatever category. So with every category, a number is associated with it, and
Yeah.
it's pre-established in the software program is the way it's been explained to me.
Okay.
So I have other budget that we use internally
That shows
that
the
has
detail.
more
behind.
detailed,
Okay.
appropriate, but uniform rental, it's essentially providing, so contractually, our employees get a
Shirts.
uniform allowance.
Okay.
And I think it's important that our employees represent themselves professionally.
I was just, because it says rentals, so I was like,
Well, it used
Uniforms
to,
are your
so
renting,
years and
yes.
years ago,
you guys.
they used to have a
wear
uniform
tuxes.
service that would come in and
Oh, and do the
and
cleaning
you would,
and stuff,
you would
okay.
drop all your, you know.
Mhm,
your-
right, they do it, I remember, yeah,
Right.
okay. A lot of companies utilize that at one,
They did.
Yeah.
Now that seems, most have gotten away from that.
Cause you could clean your clothes better than they were, basically.
And different chemicals and, you know, things like that.
yeah.
And we allow, there's so many different styles of,
I didn't know if you had
Clothes and
any,
things.
like washing facilities on site.
we don't. Our, well, anyone that's ever been to the DPW knows it's lacking a little of the amenities.
Oh, I've been there. I was thinking more in the water department, that seems to be a little more
Right.
upscale.
Yeah,
than
yeah. And
DPW.
that building was 1988,
I know.
so that's,
Well, cause I live there, so over that way, so
we actually have a capital project.
It looks good outside though,
Well, I mean, we
you know,
try,
for what.
you know, it's what you
How
have to
you
work
think.
with.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just thinking like from, you know, the small little area, that it's now much more organized and stuff.
Well,
Cause I work the dogs.
as with anything, I always say, in order to manage something, you have to know what you have to manage it. So if you don't know where these things are,
Right.
particularly at 2 o'clock in the morning when a water main breaks, and we need to send you back to get a 20-foot section of 8-inch PVC pipe, well, I need to be able to tell you where that is, because
Right.
you may not be the guy who put that 20-foot section of 8-inch water main pipe, or the coupling, or this and that. It goes back to, and this is something I kind of harp on, we're not the fire department, I understand that, we're not the police department, we typically aren't responding to an immediate emergency to, life safety. But more than any, I would say, we can impact your quality of life significantly
Right.
by the service level
So
we
you
provide.
want to
You
know
might
where
hear
your
about
water
it
pipe
more.
is.
So we,
So you can turn
we
it back
practice a
on.
lot of readiness, you know,
Mhm.
preparedness, you know. We have vehicles that are ready to respond, they have them. And it is part of, you know, why we have a fleet that, you know, it's important to me that we have an updated fleet, that we have a fleet that can respond in an emergency, but throughout an emergency. Our vehicles during a snowstorm may run 36 hours straight, never stop. You know, the longest snow event that I've ever been a part of was 62 hours we worked straight. Nobody left.
Wow.
those trucks didn't shut off. You know, we went the whole time. You need equipment you can rely on, and the problem is our equipment's expensive. You know, we have a lot of it, it's big and expensive. There is one area within this that you will see, one slide within the water department, that there are a number of indirect costs associated with the water department. So those are costs that are incurred by the town
That get
that
to
get
the end.
billed back to us. So the town will, workman's comp, or health insurance, we'll say, for the town has a total cost for its health insurance package in an increase. Well, the 6 employees that are full-time employees of the water division,
Or outside of.
that comes back out. I don't determine those funds, so those funds are determined by town hall.
Yeah.
And typically they're developed by the town treasurer,
Mhm.
and right now we are without a town treasurer. So we were not able to generate,
She,
As much
well, I don't think
accurate-
she would have all the numbers anyway
Yeah, so it-
to do that, for
usually
the
takes a little
benefits.
while.
Yeah,
Um,
she won't get that, I don't think, and, well, she
whomever.
would've, or whoever's there won't get it for another, I think it's not till April, I think she, but I think Erica got it last year around April.
So those are figures that are typically generated
Yep,
and then put back in.
because basically you pay for yourself in the water.
Absolutely, and to the same point that, you know, Tim, Fire Chief Aaron talked about,
Yep,
retaining a balance in his ambulance account. We retain a balance in our surplus, we call it retained earnings. I've set a threshold there, I never wanna see that below $400,000.
mhm,
Because in the event that we have a catastrophic water main break, or a tank issue, or we need to
it'll
be
get
able to,
eaten up pretty quick.
very quickly, very, very quickly. Into that, I just, you know, we carry, that budget, the water division is almost a $2.7 million budget.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that of that 2.7, people realize that we're covering our own debt as well. So
Right.
over $1 million of that 2.7 is just to cover already incurred debt. Again, very much like the capital stabilization
Yeah.
fund. We bought all these things, now we have to set aside money to pay for them.
Yep.
And we do that.
Do you do 5
annually.
years as well, or,
Yep, well, at one point, I had that much revenue
yeah,
to cover 5 years. We don't have that anymore, and that was really the reason I came before the board of selectmen in the fall and said, listen, it's been 12 years since we've had a water rate increase. We need to recognize that we have
more water.
debt
mains.
we've incurred, you know, and we need to
To
be,
maintain
to
those.
maintain
wells.
that.
Mm.
And rather than, let's not get to the point where we need to do a 20 or 25% rate increase, you know, with a 5% or 2.5% annual adjustment. As part of our capital plan, we built that revenue plan as well.
Yeah,
So we can say now that we're gonna be able to
to fix
be
that.
fluid and solid.
Mhm.
Can't remember the
Where
financial
are you
term.
against your budget for this year, do you know? Like, are you doing all right, are you high, low? The budget from FY19?
We monitor our budget essentially, I won't say on a daily, but weekly.
Okay,
And I would, with the exception of the highway and grounds, off-duty detail line item,
mhm,
and, the road maintenance account, all of our other line items are stable.
Okay.
They're right
Okay.
with, you know, we know we wanna, it's mid-Jan, the end of January, we wanna be at 50 to 45% expended. And so we monitor it exactly like that. And, we've hired a new staff person in the office to replace a woman that retired. And she's made it so that we've been able to take the next step, and it's all on Excel, and she's doing some amazing things for us. Lynn Lundberg has been very helpful and, has all of our invoicing hyperlinked and things
Oh,
like that,
nice.
and it's to the day. So as soon as we prepare a warrant to be processed to come to town hall, it's in a spreadsheet and we have a shared drive, we can access it, see exactly what our balance is.
Yeah,
It's nice.
that's
It's
great.
a long way from the
I was gonna
ledger
ask if you had
books
hired anyone
that I
this year.
started with, yeah.
So you hired some, new part-time person?
Yes, in anticipation of, we have a full-time person retiring. Well, we had a part-time individual who passed away.
Yes.
We went a little while trying to find the right person to fill that position. Difficult shoes to fill. Identified, Lynn for the position, and then we have a longtime administrative assistant of almost 30 years, who'll be retiring in June. Nancy Feeney.
Yep,
She'll be retiring, and Lynn will move into that position
okay.
as in a full-time manner.
Have you, just kind of going back to the label line item that was missed from last year, and when you submitted a 2% budget, would you consider, and would we want him to submit a real needs budget in addition to?
Yeah, I was gonna go down there. I think you should, because you've mentioned a couple of things,
Was it-
especially the off-duty, details. That seems to be the big need out of your budget, but I was thinking about your seasonal budget.
Well, that's what
So
the label
with
line
the
is.
seasonal employees, I think you should submit a real needs budget too, so that we can see what you would like, that if there's any extra money or if there's anything, cause maybe that's a short, quick hit that we could
Yeah,
you'll
it's,
fund your
it's,
seasonal,
it's-
employees kind of thing.
and it's relatively, in the grand scheme, like George Samuel, in a $50 million budget, it works out to be about, I think we can get about $17,000.
I was gonna say it was under $20,000.
Right, so,
To
you
fund
know,
that in the different divisions.
I'm not guaranteeing
No,
anything
and
because
I appreciate
every,
the consideration of that, 'cause they,
every department this year, more than, I would say a lot the last couple of years, seems to have, challenges. More challenges this year than the last couple. So, we wanna be able to look at everything from a big picture standpoint, but also from a, department standpoint, to look to see what those real needs are.
I
And
do,
maybe
I,
make some decisions, because maybe we fund that, but we can't do the off-duty details. Maybe, instead of 3 people of seasonal, you can get 2. You know what I mean?
I
Like
do, and I
something-
appreciate that, and I think I can speak for all the department heads, that you'd be willing to give that consideration is huge. I guess what I go back to the year, I think I've started to get here, maybe I've been around too long.
I feel that too.
I can
for
go back
myself.
to the years of -1, -3.
Right,
And so I'm always really thankful when I get to that department head meeting in
And it's a
December, and here
plus.
it's a plus.
yeah,
Well,
Great.
but I think
And
we
I-
have to be careful too, which is why we try to be on, somewhat conservative side that.
right. Which is
It
why,
isn't always rosy.
Yeah, so
Right.
we always, cause I know it's a finite pool of cash,
it is,
and it's extremely
Mhm.
finite, and if there's a 2% directive, it's because you've worked to identify what you feel that is a reasonable number, and,
right,
we take it upon ourselves to say, okay, we need to work within, for 20-plus years, I've been able to make it work.
right,
And haven't had to come back to town meeting or things like that, and we make it work. Sometimes perhaps as a disservice to the department, but again, when I think about things, I think about the town. And how do we make the town
right.
whole and make things work?
Right, and I think that really, it's good that you mentioned that, because if you think about it, like you said, the ball fields, people coming here liking our facilities, they continue to rent them. That's due to you guys. So that's a revenue stream for the school, because you guys have maintained the athletic fields, so they're renting, soccer, they're renting, the ball fields, they're renting the football field. I mean, even if, it's not just the town that's renting them, you know what I mean? So it is well maintained, and I think it goes to show that, you have to, our job as an advisory board is to do the best for the town and to see that everything is covered, and that starts with having a town that we're all proud of, and that we can see the town common is done, that, you know, the sidewalks being put in. So it's not just a matter of one department over another, everybody contributes. And so everybody, you know, has things that have to be maintained, has to be done. So, you know, if
And
we
it's all
can,
the same people want the same
Yeah.
things, we all wanna see, you know, the same people that have needs, you know, we want great schools, we want
right,
great facilities, we want great
Absolutely.
roads, we want a
Right.
great library, we need to realize though that at the end of the day, we're a small community
Mm.
that's gonna have to figure out how to pay for those
right,
things.
we don't have a credit card.
Yeah, you know, we kinda have to identify, and Public Works takes a huge chunk of that. I mean, we do, projects
Yeah, I
are
mean,
big and they're expensive,
6 million?
and, you know, 6 million in, multi-million capital dollars every
Right.
year. But I don't think anyone would wanna forgo the things that we provide,
Right,
because that's the problem.
If anything, we want more faster.
Yeah, and
Right.
the problem is, at some
it's just
point,
human nature.
we'll have, you know, if we lose, you hate to say it, the dollars, well, you lose the extras, and we have to go back to the core stuff, and then the community suffers, you know, and all those things that we now really love and appreciate, from whether your kids play here, or you walk your dog there, or you appreciate the fact you don't
That's what
have
we
to
need is a
swerve
dog
around,
park.
Or you can drive to work and
You
if
can-
the snow's been plowed.
right?
Right.
And your water's clean, and you don't have to worry about, you know, can you
Right.
bathe your baby tonight, because, you know, your water's not black, or you don't have to worry about whether you can do that load of laundry, because, you know, it's clean, safe drinking water, you know,
Right.
potable water. You know, your facilities are well maintained, and it all goes, it's all part of everything, you know, just like, I know
Especially the
when I
snow
pick up the
plowing,
phone.
everyone raves about. I have people at work that cut through East Bridgewater because they live in Bridgewater or whatever at work, and they always say that the roads are plowed the best out of the
We
surrounding.
appreciate that,
I
but
think it's true.
we attack it, you know, that
Right.
snow and ice is
Yeah.
a mission for us. It's a little, you know, it's a battle with a war at the end.
Yeah,
And I know the hour's late, but I will provide, I have it, but I also have a 5-year capital plan, equipment. I have a 5-year road inventory plan. I'm always a little hesitant to put that out publicly,
yeah, I think it,
because, somebody sees, oh, well, my road's gonna get done next year, and then
then something
funding
happens.
doesn't come
Right.
through, or another road deteriorates more quickly, and that's a very fluid plan, but,
Yep,
again.
we know you have it.
And I'll echo Chief Aaron's response. We very much appreciate it. We realize it's a volunteer board. You guys are here at almost 10 o'clock at night on a Tuesday, listening to us rant and rave for what we need and what we have to have. But we're very appreciative of what you guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Does anyone have any more questions for John? No?
It was a lot to absorb. I'm
It is,
gonna
it's
go
a-
back and
it's a
look
lot.
at it because it was.
It's a huge budget,
Mhm.
huge
Yeah.
pieces.
And it's,
Yeah.
I think Dan and I were 2.5 hours the other night as well.
Yeah.
and
I didn't
I'm,
realize there were so many different components, you know, so I
Right.
definitely need to look at
Yeah.
the information again.
and I'm always happy to sit down with individuals or residents. Our door's open. If you have questions, you know, we can't give, you know, the more information we can provide, and get out there about everything that we do and that the town does, it makes for a more informed electorate, and you can make better decisions at town meeting.
Right.
Well, I hope people are watching, because I think the more transparent you are and the more informed that you are, the better decisions you can make. We've talked about
And
that.
I hope people have been able to see on
Well,
screen,
it gets
because,
posted tomorrow, I
Good.
think.
because I know I've sat here a lot of times when you're talking about things, and you know, maybe you didn't have the information, or particularly if residents do wanna take the time to watch this.
They have an extra 3.5 hours.
There's something at least to look at, or
Yep.
follow along with.
All right.
Thank you for taking the
Thank
time
you,
to
John. I
actually,
appreciate that. And I really like the
A little bit more though, I got
presentation.
the budget.
yeah, thank you.
Well, and I appreciate Dan a lot of time, and, you know, and because for years and years, it has been a couple, you know, spreadsheets, and let's just go over numbers, and
Yeah,
a lot gets lost, and you don't really realize, well, this number correlates to this service.
yep.
This number correlates to this, you know, and it's a valuable exercise for me to go through, so I appreciate that too.
Excellent. All right. And we appreciate Zach too. All right, so I guess I just wanted to say, so we have our meeting next week. Right?
Tuesday.
Yep, police, on Tuesday. I'm actually meeting with the chief tomorrow, again.
And that's at 5:30?
I believe, so I actually put all the meetings in my calendar, because I had posted them.
212 is at 6:30,
Oh, 6:30, not 5:30?
because that's a Tuesday,
It's,
and it's
I-
up here.
it's up here because it's Tuesday. The Monday meeting of March 4th is
We'll be down.
down,
And that
And
one's
that-
at 5:30?
and that one's early, yeah. Let's see. Excuse me. Yep, 6:30 I have for next week. Because 5:30 didn't work for you, I believe, or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, well,
I think. It
just,
doesn't
yeah.
matter. It's 6:30, next Tuesday.
I had written down in my notes, but yesterday we talked about this, I originally had the library going on the 12th after police or,
We did, but
But then we
then
took
the
it away.
police, yes.
okay,
And the reason for that was, more because the police is another long,
long presentation.
yeah.
I just wanted to make sure my notes were in alignment, because we talked about something different.
We're gonna
Yes.
make notes next year to make sure we go with fire and DPW
Right.
together.
No, I typically say, I usually like, make sure
I
you do
tried
like
to say that
the,
earlier
make sure you
too.
do like the town clerk and me, cause it takes a long time. Well, again, I've done this for like 20
Yes.
years, and I know like these,
Well, you know what, I
That's
knew it,
oh,
Yep,
but, because last year we did police and fire the same night, and you had your own night. Actually, or there was someone,
But he even had, Brian, I think Brian even came up with
And
you
Brian
and Jason,
came.
you had more of a
I
crowd.
told them all to
Jason.
stay home.
Is it
Yeah.
because of the?
and then, so we can figure that out. Okay, so we know next Tuesday?
Mhm.
Does anyone have any open finance committee business? I do not.
No.
Okay, I will entertain a motion.
motion.
I'll second.
I'll entertain a motion
To adjourn.
to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. motion.
Any discussion?
No.
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.